Hey, Stunt Hangar fans, we are live. Sorry I'm a little bit late tonight. I didn't even know it. Came bounding across the room, jumped into my chair, and clicked the trigger. And it looks like we've already got, we got Bob, John, and somebody. Let's see. Oh, Peter. Bob, John, and Peter already here. Nobody over on the YouTube side yet, but welcome. This is the Stunt Hangar Hangout Friday night edition. I'm Rusty, and I'll hang out with you until at least midnight or however far we can go before we start face planting into our keyboards and talk about aeromodeling. The links are in the usual places, meaning if you are logged in as a member to the Stunt Hangar control line forums, then you can go to the At the Bench thread on the main forum page and log in with your camera and microphone. Otherwise, you can watch us live on the Stunt Hangar YouTube channel and use the text chat box over there to communicate with us if you wish, or start conversations amongst yourselves. So everybody, welcome. Just keep it family room friendly, and we'll have a good time. So, and hey, Bill dropped in while I was blabbing too. So, everybody, welcome to the Friday night show. How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Good.
Everybody see and hear me and each other okay?
What? So far?
Don't give me that.
Couldn't help it.
Yeah, I know. Man, I tell you what, you can grow a bush on that face fast as anybody I ever saw. It's really thickening up. You know, last year when it was so long, it didn't look as thick. But when it's shorter, it really looks like a bush. Looks good.
Yeah. If there's one thing I like, it's a face with a good head of hair.
No
Can't worry about the head, you know. You and I are in the same boat, Bob.
Got it. Yeah, you're
a
on.
head, yeah, that's a head with a good face of hair. So
yeah. Hey, Bob, I'm sorry to hear about your shoulder. That have you talked to your doctor or anything on that?
Yeah, I've been to a doctor, and I got a pinched nerve, and I've had some arthritis from a motorcycle crash I had years ago. And
I heard you put in just an incredible amount of flights one day.
112 flights.
My goodness, that is a lot.
112 in one day?
No, in 1 week at the Nats.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a lot of flying.
And one day I had to charge 6 batteries 3 times.
Holy smokes, Bob! When are you going to get serious about this thing?
I'm fixing to. If the doctor can fix this, then I'll be okay.
Oh, good. So
but she got home. She got home nice and safe. There she is. You know.
Yeah. Well, my day's been kind of interesting. I broke out a box that had all my discs in it and all my programs and everything else, all in disarray and in various stages of different. It looked like crap, and so I spent the day going through it. And I just got through going through a whole bunch of my backup pictures. I got pictures going back to 1998 here locally in Salt Lake and Western states. I even saw a picture of me 22 years younger. It didn't look like the same guy.
Well, no offense, but it wasn't the same guy.
You got a point. That was about when I first met you, right in that area.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
One of the VSCs.
Yeah, you come running into the circle. You were judging me. You come run the circle, and you said you'd never seen a baby magician, or not a baby, but a junior magician, go through the whole pattern like that.
Yeah.
Probably
the operative two words there are like that.
Yeah, that's what you probably said, how the heck did he do that? Because most people fly that a whole lot better.
I liked your twin. What was the twin thing you had? That orange thing.
The one over there in the corner.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it too. I was just practicing for the the Golden State Championship. And a fellow was out there, and he left his stooge out there. I didn't know it was there, and I come in for a landing after my first practice flight, and I hit that sucker, and I popped all the covering on the outboard wing.
Geez.
And I could have fixed it, but I wanted to take it apart, make sure there's nothing broken in there.
Wow.
And so there it sits. I haven't done a dang thing with it.
That was a sweet looking airplane. I remember that.
It was a fun flying airplane, Bob. It for no flaps, it flew really pretty darn good. Gordon keeps saying that the best patterns he ever seen me put in were with that airplane.
Well, I'll tell you, that one that he has, that little Pathfinder profile twin, that thing can really, really fly.
Oh, yeah.
That's an incredible little airplane.
Yeah, it was funny because I drew the plans up for that, you know, and he was telling me, well, there ain't going to be any more Pathfinders. I've had it. There's Pathfinder this, Pathfinder that. And I said,
He finally found his path.
Well, you know, it was a good airplane, you know, it had good lines, and it was gaining a good reputation. And I said, well, look, I drew up this twin. You want to look at it? He looked at it and thought about it, looked at it some more, made a few little changes here and there. And he says, you know, I think I'm going to build one of those. So there was another Pathfinder after he said there weren't going to be any more.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, his especially flew very well. He being Mr. Twin, he was able to get those engines synced and running well.
Yeah, I've never seen one that got both motors running as well as he got them running, as often as he got them running that well.
Yeah, he was very good at that.
It's almost like it was so, you know, so perfect, you know.
Oh, yeah. And it didn't weigh any more than the standard, you know, it was, you know, but basically what it was a full-size Pathfinder profile with two nacelles on it and a pair of 15s.
Yeah.
It was a fun little airplane, though.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good evening, Gary and Tom. Thank y'all for dropping in.
Is my microphone noisy? It says I might be noisy.
No, it's not unusual for it to say that. Sometimes I find if my microphone is touching something like my monitor or touching something on the outside, it'll get vibrations in it that'll make it say that. But mine goes through phases of saying that every 10 minutes, and then it goes weeks without doing it. So I don't think it means anything to worry about. But you sound fine. Hey, Bill, have you gotten to work any on your ARF, your Super Clown?
No, I haven't, but I put the OS Max 35 in the Buster, and I ran it, you know, broke it in some, and then I flew it really rich, and it's working well.
Great.
It doesn't vibrate like the Fox, and
no, it's everything a Fox would love to be, but isn't. I would, you know, I'm not an expert on the old Steelies, but I don't know how much it takes to break one of those Max S's in, because all of mine are used, but I love those engines. They're great. They're not as powerful as the FPs or the LAs, but they are just marvelous running if you're a fan of the old 4.2 brake and, you know, the old-timey sound, and they haul it along with confidence.
Yeah, they're great motors, and if you put a old Super Tiger 35 rod in there, you can clearance it just enough to get it to miss, and that makes them really run well.
Yeah, that's actually what mine's got in it too. Oh no, you're talking about the connecting rod.
Yeah, put the con rod from a Super Tiger 35 into the Max 35. Takes a little bit of clearancing, but man, they work great. Richie Tower used to set all our ours up that way.
Where do you have to relieve it for clearance? You mean
it's been a million and a half years since I flew one, but I remember you had to clearance something inside the case so the rod wouldn't hit. It's a bigger rod.
Make a little more room. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that's the only weak point in that engine is the con rod.
Yes. Yep. And the bushing. You got to replace the bushing every now and then, you know.
Oh, okay.
That Super Tiger rod had a nice bushing in it. And Glenn Dye set mine up for me, and he did a little. He ran a little groove through the bottom of the crank.
Yeah.
And he put a little oil hole in the big end of the rod to get a little oil in there too.
Yeah.
It's been running like for years. But the difference is why it's not as powerful as the FPs and the LAs and all those are all Schnurly.
Yep.
Those are all Schnurlies. It's a scavenge, a cross flow.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
We got a new member from Guyana, South America, Wilfred. Let me look at this name for a second. Rajkumar. Right? No, right, that's not right. Excuse me. Wilfred Raj Kumar. Hello, Wilfred. Welcome to the Nut House. Welcome to America, North America. That is.
What part of South America is he in?
Guyana.
Guyana.
Yes.
Ah, it's on the north coast.
A lot more South Americans in here, but I hadn't seen very many of them in the past 6 months or so. Maybe. It's been a while.
Maybe they were taking the COVID thing really seriously.
I think they probably took it pretty hard, actually.
Yeah.
Not that anybody can take it any harder than we have, but anyway, welcome all the same. Anyway, yeah, I'll carry on. Sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to welcome our new member.
Well, Bob, what are you working on? You got a new project in the wind there?
Yeah, I got too many new projects in the wind. That's the problem. My son made me sell some of them off. I sold a couple of things off at the Nationals, and I'm gonna, if I can get this fixed where I can really work at it again, like I was trying to for this National. I want to get back to doing twins. I really believe twins are the way to go.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and one of the reasons is, and we noted it at this National, there's advantages to standard rotation props, and I think there's tremendous advantages to reverse rotation props. But when you get into turbulence and dead air, neither one seems to punch through as well as it should. They were really affected by turbulence. They're hitting their own turbulence and everything. And I noted when I was doing my twin, it was not affected very much at all by dead air. It would punch right through because of all the disc span. I had 20 inches of disc span, 2 10-inch propellers. And they were counter-rotating. So it was almost like jet flight. There was no spiral airflow effect because it wasn't going around the fuselage, and it was counteracting each other anyway. So tremendous advantages.
Is the Crossfire counter-rotating?
The Crossfire is a reverse rotation.
Single prop.
Single prop.
Oh, I'm thinking of another plane then.
The second
I must be thinking of the second wind.
Yeah, that one's counter-rotating, yeah.
Yeah.
Although I did try every permutation possible, and you can do it at the field in one setting, in 4 flights. You can have them both, you're going to have the top, or 5 flights. You can have the tops of the props turning towards each other, towards the canopy. You can have them turning away from the canopy. You can have them both turning left and both turning right. Now, if you just change leads on the motor so you get the proper rotation of the motor, you can try all permutations with 2 sets of props and find out which one works best for you. But I really feel that the counter-rotating setup with the tops of the props turning towards the canopy seemed to be the best.
Remember a discussion we had years ago where we were talking about the electric airplanes were starting to come along? Pat, what was his name? Pat with a P. Anyway, he was running electric airplanes and doing real well. He's one of the first guys to
Mikey Palco?
That's it, Palco.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about, and jokingly you said something about 12 props on a leading edge. You remember that? 1/2 size props on a leading edge?
Yeah.
How you thought that might not be a bad way to go?
Well, it's funny you should say that because, and I may be telling a story out of school I shouldn't be telling, but I'm going to tell it anyway. You know who Jim Aaron is?
Yeah.
He's building, or has built already, a 6 electric motor B-36 stunner.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, I'm not. and I got the wing, I got the lost foam cradle set for it and the tail for it, and it's outrageous. But the way he asked me if he thought these motors would have enough thrust, I said, I bet you straight dinner will have enough thrust. So he put all 6 of them on the leading edge of a top flight score. And he went out and the thing almost pulled his arm out of his socket. So he owes me a steak dinner.
Yeah. Well, now see, I'd really be impressed if he had ducted fans in the jet pods underneath there.
He's crazy, but he's not quite that crazy. But he is nuts.
Yes, he is. He's nuts in a good way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's great. I love him.
So I was flying my 15 size electric, the other evening, and I would notice in the bottom of the loop where it seemed like it was getting some turbulence, and I was thinking, was I going through my own wake? But then I thought, no, I'm on the other side of a building, and there's, a little bit of wind coming over that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that wasn't just hitting me right.
Yeah, it probably was.
It probably was.
The Nationals, we were flying on Circle 2 at the Nationals. Walker, myself, and Tom Luciano, a couple of us were out there. And we were the only ones staying through the whole day. Everybody else would fly a morning session and then come back in the evening. But we were just flying all day long. And everything was working great. And then right in the middle of the day when it got the hottest it was going to get and the windiest it was going to get, and actually it wasn't that windy, it was like turbulent, less thermals. And all of a sudden, all of our airplanes started dropping tips really bad, like something was bent in the airplane. And we couldn't figure it out. And finally Walker said, no, I bet you we're all having the same exact problem. It's a line of thermals coming right up the edge of the runway and making our airplanes dip. And that's the same thing you might have been experiencing, Bill. Something like
I was wondering about, if the thermals affected the control line.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I had one thermal at Huntersville come through the trees one day a couple of years ago. It's 2017, I think, and I was flying a official actually, and thermals came through those trees and blew me right out of the top of the overhead 8s. And I mean, it was almost like the line was coiling up at my feet. The plane was just coming down, and the plane finally came around and hit, I think, the same thermal, and it got under the wings and picked it back up, and the line snapped back out tight, and it kept on going. And I just said, woo, and kept on flying level. I never tried to fly another stunt that day, but that was 24-mile-an-hour winds. That was the day I was talking about the crows couldn't even land in the trees without doing a go around and coming back.
Wow.
When the crows are having to do go arounds to land in the trees, you should be flying control line.
You think?
But the churchyard, in my early years of YouTubing, when I got back into it with half A's, I was flying across the street at the churchyard, and that's an L-shaped building, and the air it's got a really steep roof, and the air used to just roll off of that roof in one hellacious swoop pointed at the ground, and there's no way you could fly through there without the plane just being hit like, I forget what crashed that plane, full-size plane in Texas one time, a shear, like wind shear, and you had to watch out for that on every single lap. My wife used to call that the devil's triangle, being that it was at the church. That was kind of a joke, I guess.
The Circle Burner field in Jersey was very much like that. Wind could be blowing at 10 miles an hour, and you'd be two circles, and one guy would be doing his maneuver on one side, and one guy would be doing his maneuvers on the other side. And it's a little tiny field.
Do you remember, Bob, when
yeah, that's odd wind. But hey, if you're gonna fly control line, you better learn to fly in the wind.
What was that?
Were you there at VSC when that Dust Devil came through? I think Trossel was flying, and it actually took one of the big tent things, awning things,
Wow.
out in the circle, and a lawn chair up went up and got about 40, 50 feet in the air.
I don't remember that one, but I've been there a lot of times when dust devils would go through, because they go through all the time. I remember the one that picked up Scorinzi's hat and thermaled it all the way over to the other edge of the field. He actually got a max out of it. You know?
Yeah, I wasn't there for that one, I think.
Yeah. That could be a brutal field for dust devils.
Yeah, I can remember seeing somebody taking off chasing airplanes across the field while somebody's up flying, trying to catch the planes before they crashed.
How'd that work out for him? Hey, Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Hey, Charles.
Hi, everybody.
Can't see you yet, but I know you're there.
The airplanes before they crashed?
They did catch him.
Wow.
So the other thing about flying at this place, it's a business, so I go there in the evening, they not working, and boy, the sun can be like right at you at a certain time of the evening. Just
When you got to fly through the sun, the best trick I've found is to close one eye, fly through the sun, and then when you get out the other side, you open it. You open your eye back up, and you got at least one eye that doesn't take 5 seconds to regain its composure.
You know, Bill, the rule is with the sun is the wind always blows into the sun.
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
The sun sucks and the wind blows.
We were at in 1976. In January '76, we were at Freddie Miles and I passed away. We went down to the King Orange International, and being from New Jersey, and he was from New York. We figured we're going to Florida. It's going to be 90 degrees. When we got down there, it was 20 degrees. We didn't bring any clothes with us, and we're out on the runway, and the wind was blowing. And how intense the sun is when it's cold. The wind was blowing directly into the sun, and it was about a 15-mile-an-hour wind, and it was intense. So I put on 3 pairs of sunglasses and used the sun as an intersection marker. And Les McDonald was judging. I won the contest, and after the contest, he says, we're not sure if you were doing the maneuvers correctly or not, but you entered at 5 feet and you exited at 5 feet. And that's all we could see.
That's a great strategy. With the intersection right in the sun? Oh, that's awesome.
Of course, when you're upwind, you can't see anything. You just like to have welder's goggles on. You have 3 pairs of sunglasses, Downwind, I could use the sun as an intersection marker. It was great.
Hey, Bob, did you hurt your shoulder or your back?
Well, it's. I think it's arthritis and pinched nerves and a whole bunch of problems from that motorcycle crash I had, and it's starting to give me problems. But the doctor gave me an adjustment, and he said to just stay off it for a while, and it's getting better. Not like it was out there. I couldn't sleep. And that's the reason I pulled out, not because of my arm hurting flying. It really didn't hurt flying, but I hadn't slept in 4 days. I had like 3 hours of sleep in 4 days.
Oh, wow.
I was just so fatigued I couldn't fly.
That was because I was talking to John Paris, and he said, I found out you were there. So I was coming down on Friday for the finals because I knew you'd be in them. But then when I called, I talked to John Thursday night, and he said, "Are you going to still come down?" And I said, "Yeah, I got to say hi to Bob. I haven't seen him a couple of years." He goes, "He went home." I'm like, "No shit."
Yeah.
I've seen videos of Sparky had videos. I knew seeing them, but yeah, I didn't.
It was rough. It was. I was sleeping in a trailer. I went out with Joel Costantino, and actually I met him out there. He had this big long travel trailer that opens up like a suite. It's really nice. But I couldn't lay down on the back, and it was sharp pains. Just wouldn't let me sleep. So I was sitting in a chair trying to sleep, and it just didn't work. And I got maybe an hour a night at the most.
Yeah, that's no good for maintaining concentration.
Yeah,
I know about that.
Although
I finally got my appointment after seven months to see what they're going to do about my back.
Oh man!
So
Don't let them cut on you.
yeah,
Yeah, I've flown with all kind of afflictions, but flying with fever is the worst thing that I think I've ever tried to do. And that was at a contest too at Huntersville. That was the time I forgot to pull out. Actually, I think I went to sleep on the down leg of a wing over and didn't pull out, buried it up to its armpits luckily it was the dirt grass circle up there at the top. But yeah, it's tough to fly when your body is not quite there.
I mean, I've fallen asleep driving a car, but I can't imagine falling asleep flying a plane.
Well, it just sounds good, so I say that. I don't think I really fell asleep, but I might as well have.
Yeah.
You should have yelled out, "Move the barrel over!" That's a referral to an old challenge contest out here in the West where they put a barrel out there and you take your old beater and you try to do a wing over and make it.
I've always wanted to do that. Yeah, I've never flown the dumpster dive, but I've always wanted to do that and a balloon bust. I've never tried a balloon bust either.
We did that at the Circle Burners one year, and Jimmy Casale came out there to fly, and he didn't get the rules straight. He didn't realize you were supposed to go into the barrel. He went to the side of the barrel.
That's a little easier to do.
He wanted the trophy. He says, "I'm the only guy that hit the barrel." I said, "Yeah, but not the open end."
You got to hit the hole in the barrel.
Wow.
so I heard
you
you're flying good though, huh, Bob?
I don't know. I mean, it felt good. The airplane was flying good. I got the airplane working real well. I was getting, I don't know, I was getting progressively tired or more tired. People said I was flying better and better. I don't know. There's any correlation there. Maybe if I fell asleep, I would have won, you know?
Yeah, there you go.
More and more relaxed.
Well, I heard about people can do stuff in their sleep, you know, and I didn't realize that was you with flying.
Yeah, it was pretty intense, and I was really despondent. But when I left, and I think about everybody, it was very emotional saying goodbye to everybody, you know. It was 5 years since I've been to a national. And as I was pulling out of the driveway and made that left out of the complex, I had no remorse whatsoever. I knew I did the right thing because I was just wiped out.
Yeah, we got next year, you know.
Yeah, you know. And if I don't, hey, I've had a good career, you know.
Yeah.
Have somebody come stay with your doggy? Or did you board it? I know you don't like the board.
My wife, no, I would never board my dog. My dog is, you know, I would never send her out of the house. She's family member. She was just in here looking at my hand. My wife, fortunately, has 31 years in where she works, and her boss is very accommodating, and he let her work from home and telecommute, and so she took care of the dog.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good.
Fantastic.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone, you know. So,
Yeah.
we all love our doggies.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got ours just turned 1 year old a couple of days ago, and she's turning out to be a great little puppy. She looks like a whippet, but it's a mix of some sort. We don't really know what she is.
The people behind us, they have an interesting mix. They have a crossbreed between a pit bull and a Shih Tzu.
My goodness.
They call it a bullshit.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's fine. I need to remember that.
So, when are you looking? You think you'll have that USA Amos kind of airplane you're designing now done, Bob?
Well, the twin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all the pieces are done. I could have it glued together in like a week, you know.
Okay.
So, but I'm thinking about doing a change to the nacelles, the length of the nacelles. I flew Frankie. You know, Frankie built one. I showed it here on pictures one time. Did you ever see that? The one Frankie.
Yeah, I remember when you showed us that.
Is that twin though? Is that with the wing that you just the Usama wing that you?
Yeah, it's the Schaefer's Usama wing with about 3/4 of an inch sweep forward in the trailing edge. A little bit of.
I didn't realize anybody had built it yet. I thought that was still something you were working on.
Oh no! If you hadn't seen it, let me see if I can find. I don't know how to do this anymore. Share your screen. Hold on. Let me see if I can find that thing.
Because I knew you said he was working on a new twin and stuff, but I didn't realize it was that one.
How do we do this? I forgot how to do this.
Down at the bottom left, you hover and those boxes pop up. The one that looks like a monitor, you click to screen share.
Yeah.
But first you got to open your picture.
Oh, okay.
First open the picture and then come back and do that.
Let me do that. See if I can find
it. I'm going to walk to the kitchen and get my coffee. I forgot to get it before
Frankie built a
just
this airplane. It's one of the best flying airplanes I've ever flown in my life. He's a great builder, Frankie.
Did he lengthen his nacelle?
No, well, yeah. Oh, actually, he had fairly long nacelles. I'm going to lengthen them just a little bit more. Frank McMillan has one with the shortest nacelles, and Frankie's are a little longer, and I'm going to have a longer one yet. We're still messing with it.
Are you doing it for balance, so it balances?
Yeah, so you don't have to add any weight anywhere,
Oh, okay.
See, I've noticed that Paul Walker's Anteater's got that long nose on it.
Boy, does it ever. Unbelievable. He has to put a red flag on the spinner.
Why did he change airplanes, Bob? Did he try lengthen the nose even more, or shorten it up, or?
I don't know. I didn't get talking to him about the particulars, but Matt Newman showed up. He has a new airplane, flies really well. It's pretty too, and it has a 13-inch nose.
Holy shit!
And after the contest, they tell me that Dave Fitzgerald flew it and put on a show with it. He said that he really put on a show with that airplane. So interesting.
I'm wondering why the long nose makes so much difference. For years we've just made the nose long enough to get the engine in and the tank in.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. To tell you the truth,
maybe they, oh shit! I can't even think now.
You're gonna fill the swear jar up before I have to show it to.
Yeah, there you go. I gotta put a buck in it just for the bullshit story,
Yeah. Bada bing.
If everybody laughs, you might get a break on it. So that was all right.
Dave had a mission. He's he's doing the longer nose, but to offset a longer tail, he wants a longer tail moment.
Well, yeah, but then his ratios are probably pretty close to the same.
Let me see if I can find a way to do this now.
Have you heard from Jacobo lately, Bob?
I have not. I talked to Susan. Here it is. Did that show up?
Yeah.
No, I don't see it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm a little behind everybody on the screen share.
Flaps or elevators on it, or the spinners, or the cowls. The lower part of the nacelle. But that's the design.
Okay.
Dang,
now, does that have retracts, or is that?
Yeah, that's got retracts. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, he did.
I feel ripped off. I'm not getting to see it.
I designed that. I kind of had I had a dream about a demented warthog. That attack airplane with the twin rudders, and I kind of used that shape of those rudders. After having flown a lot of Schaefer's airplanes using that handle upside down trick, I really found that I love twin rudders.
Are y'all seeing Bob's screen share?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
It gives it better elevator, right? By putting
more elevator authority because it traps the air onto the elevators. Yeah, you get more elevator authority out of it. But that's a good flying airplane, boys. That's one of the best flying airplanes. That even flies better than Gordon's twin, which is saying something.
Yeah.
Does that fly better than your first twin that you brought there to the Nats that year?
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. That was the one I designed after having flown the second one and realizing the changes that needed to be made. That's the airplane we designed. And then Frank McMillan built one. And then Frank Embriaco built that one.
Okay, and that's got the thinner wing.
Yeah, it's got a fairly thin. It's got the Usama wing with just a little bit of sweep forward in the trailing edge. That reduces the stick load.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I had to go over to my preview page on YouTube to see it, but
I'm sorry,
I
Charles.
saw it.
I'll wait till everyone's finished. You know, when you have the twin rudders, can you see the elevator when you're at the handle?
No, you got to be real careful. Make sure you just don't go out there and go like this and take off. You got to watch your flaps. You know.
Okay, I was just curious because that's what I have with the Olympics. I'm like, I learned to watch the flaps after a while, but the first time I flew an Olympic, it freaked me out taking off. I wasn't sure where it's at.
Yeah.
And then Dave Sabon told me to watch the flap, Charles. And I said, oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people go out there when they're not sure the controls are hooked up right. They just twiddle the controls. If the controls move, they launch the airplane. Even if they never check that up is up and down is down, they just check that the controls are moving. You know.
Right. Now you can still have your handle backwards.
Yeah, it's a good idea to know which direction they're moving in.
You would think, you know. Now, with the reverse pitch props, it's interesting. Then you have to, you know, down is up and up. No, it isn't. Not really.
It worked.
You were talking about an Olympic, Charles.
Yeah.
Did I tell the story about Paul Riscala, the gentleman who was building an Olympic, and he came down to my shop to have the electrics installed? Did I tell you that story?
I don't think so.
This is a great story. Paul Riscala and his father just passed away last week at 90 some odd years, 94 years of age or something. He was like a father to us all in the Union Model Airplane Club. We've known him for years. And he kind of pushed his son a little bit, not in a bad way. He just wanted his son to have fun. When he was real little, he was flying these 850 square inch stunt ships. And the kid got real nervous one day and had a panic attack in the center of the circle. And he couldn't breathe. So I grabbed a pair of wire cutters and I grabbed George and we ran out there and I said, George, you get Paul. I snipped the safety thong and landed the airplane. And Paul went to the hospital and he was okay. But the experience took him out of stunt for many, many, many years. And he came back at about 45 years of age and decided he wanted to build again, or maybe 50 years of age. And he said, I always wanted to build an Olympic. I always thought that was a beautiful airplane. And I said, it truly is. It's a magnificent airplane. One of the ones I always wanted to build too. And every time I started one, someone would come to my shop and steal it from me. So, he got a lost foam cradle set. And he built a beautiful wing, and he built a beautiful airplane. In fact, like everybody coming into stunt for the first time in a long time, it looked like a baseball bat with a spinner stuck on the nose. You know, it wasn't faired in.
Right.
So I said, why don't we fair this in? He said, Bob, there's not enough wood there to do that. I said, Paul, there's like a lumber yard up there. We could fair this thing in. So we started doing that. So he agreed. I started to shape it in, you know, with a permagrit block and getting it all carved and sanded and starting to come in beautiful. The rest of the airplane was magnificent. So while we're doing this, he goes to me, he says, yeah, I've always liked the Olympic. I always wanted to have a chance to meet Mr. Gialdini before he died. I said, really? Okay. Mm-hmm. I didn't say anything. I just said, here, you see what I'm doing? Just keep doing this. So I went over and I got on the phone and I called Bob Gialdini. And I said, I got somebody I want you to meet. I put it on speakerphone. I said, Paul, I'd like you to meet Bob Gialdini.
Wow.
Look at his face. He thought he was dead.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Is he still alive now, Bob, or not?
Yeah, he just moved into assisted living. I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He sounds good, and he said he's very happy there. He says the food is okay and the people are nice, but he had to sell all his airplanes and give up his house and everything.
Well, that's too bad. Yeah, I've seen him at Brodak one year.
Mm-hmm.
He was real nice guy.
Classiest guy in the hobby.
Yeah.
Just ask him; he'll tell you.
Oh, I was watching this thing about airplanes or whatever, and they were in when the first women flyers, and they had somewhere there in New Jersey, New York area, whatever. This woman, first wing walker. They said that her and her partner in the day made $15,000 a day in today's money.
Wow.
Putting on. I'm like, man, they made some good money. But that lady was crazy. I mean, she walked to the top of that one wing and grabbed onto a ladder from another airplane and climbed up the ladder and got onto the other airplane.
Wow.
And then she had a thing she made up with a wire on it. She put in her teeth and from some circus show and would actually let go and swing down under the airplane by her teeth. It didn't show her how she got back up. I'm like, what does he come in slow for a landing? She starts running and lets loose. It's like, you know, she's 20 feet under the airplane. It's like, I don't know how she got back up unless he dropped something else down for her to climb. It didn't show that.
That's funny.
It did show her going along, hanging by her teeth. But yeah, they said that that no one was as good as her at the wing walking thing.
Wow.
She was some waitress, and this guy came in and took her for a flight and stuff like that. She wanted to get out on the wing and stuff. And I'm like, she made a lot of money, but she had to be kind of crazy, you know?
Kinda.
Yeah, kind of.
It's like, wow. Hey, take me for a flight. Hey, that was fun. Now let me get up there on the wing. See how fun that is.
Yeah, try that on a 747.
Yeah. But yeah, they were saying that you could buy a Jenny for $350. I don't know if that was a lot of money back then or not. But they said some of them never been flown. They were surplus from World War I.
Wow.
Brand new airplanes.
Not anymore.
No. Well, it was pretty cool about, and I didn't know, you know, everyone's heard of like powder puff football and stuff like that. Where that first came from was some woman won a long distance race across the United States. So then the guys got unlimited their horsepower to like 114 horsepower. And some newsman or writer for a paper coined it powder puff line.
It was actually the first flight from California to the Cleveland Air Races, and they called it the powder puff derby. So somebody said the women have their powder puffs here. You know, they're all getting made up, and they called it the powder puff derby. There's actually a thing on I forgot what the channel was. It was called Breaking Through the Clouds. It was about a 3-hour documentary on that race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said that because of what that one woman was winning, that they limited the horsepower so she couldn't win anymore.
I don't know about that. In this documentary, it was all women. There was no men in the race. It was just a women's race. And
yeah,
they had two categories, one for small, lighter planes with lower horsepower and one for larger airplanes with more horsepower. Pancho Barnes and Amelia Earhart and Marvel Crossan, a bunch of these famous women were in that race. I think it was 19 of them that made the race, and one of them died on the way. If you ever get a chance to watch it, it's a fascinating documentary.
Yeah, I have to
breaking through the clouds.
Yeah, I don't know if this was on the History Channel. It was only an hour thing that I was watching, but
yeah,
they showed that woman on that. I forget how many hours it took to fly it, but I guess she could stay awake a long time and it didn't bother her.
Well, the jumps, you know, it was only like some of them were only like a couple 100-mile jumps, but some of them were longer over the mountains and stuff. So it was like, I don't know, 20 stops or something, you know, or 15 stops.
Yeah, fuel and go and stuff like that. I forget what they said.
Well, every place they stopped, they had a rubber chicken banquet for them. They just wanted to sleep and work on their airplanes and check the oil and everything. And they had to go to these banquets where, you know, the local exchange club or whatever would make a big deal about it. So they never got any sleep. They got like less than 4 hours sleep a night.
Wow. That documentary there, just talk about racing or just female pilots?
No, this was the actual story of the first women's race from San Bernardino to Cleveland, but it went all over. You know.
Did you ever know about that black female stunt pilot, aerobatic pilot?
Who's that?
That's Amelia.
Amelia. Yeah.
Hey, Amelia.
I never heard of her, Charles. Who was she?
I don't remember her name, but yeah, she went around the country and did shows, and she died in a plane crash.
Oh man.
I should know her name, unfortunately, but I mean, she was one of the early female stunt pilots, and she was black.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them died. You know, they were brave.
Oh yeah, she had to overcome a lot of obstacles to get a pilot's license.
I was watching a thing where they were looking for the airplane for some woman, the P-51 Mustang. They said if they would come off the line, they'd fire them up and the pilots would fly out with them someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
They never test run the motor or anything. And that one, I forget how many flights she had or whatever, but she took off with that brand new airplane and never did find her. They figured she went in the ocean someplace, but they're not 100% sure.
By the way, that photo of Amelia, my wife's granddad took that.
Wow.
He's a professional photographer back in the day.
My dad got to meet her. He actually helped her down off the wing of a burning Vega at Louisville Airport when he was a kid. He lived in Louisville. And he got to meet all the famous pilots, Lindbergh and Wiley Post and all of them when he was hanging around the airport. And she was in her Vega, and they were fueling it, and it started on fire. And he, along with a couple other people, helped her down off the wing. Now, the airplane didn't go all the way up. They saved it, but they had to get her off the airplane. So.
Have there been any recent clues turned up about Amelia?
Yeah. Yeah,
It seems
they
like
found
I heard something.
they found on
What
some
was that, John?
they found on some very remote island, very small island, that it has a spit kind of a thing, sandy beach that it goes out a ways. They believe that they found parts of aluminum airplane there. They can't tell for sure, you know, but it's the same kind of aluminum that was used on her aircraft on that blanket.
Yeah.
And they found a sole of a shoe that
They found
matches the sole of her shoe or something.
yeah, and they found
I thought that's what I remember something about.
they found various personal items that looked like they'd been camping for a period of time. Found a comb and a couple of female items there, but that was it. That's all. They didn't find anything else.
Wow.
They had some guy from World War II that was a radio man or whatever, and they asked him, okay, you know, how would you do it? And he was saying how they tracked or whatever, and he came up with it. They were on this is where they'd went, and it flew over this one island, and that's where they found the parts. So they're pretty, you know, they thought that too, but they said that radio operator that you know did the navigation, you know, they went back to a guy who was trained the same way and said, okay, here, how would you do this? Mm-hmm. And they found that little teeny remote. It wasn't a very big island.
I think the guy's name was Noonan.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
That sounds like the right
That
name.
is it.
Noonan, yeah. Yeah. Okay. You ever see that movie, Amelia? You ever watch that movie?
Yeah.
What are you making, Charles?
I'm making a template for a mold buck. This is my plane, and I can't see if you can see what I'm looking at, but yeah, so I'm just trying to make a template for the mold buck.
Yeah.
So our big conversation on molding gets you more interested in trying it out. We felt a lot about that a couple of times recently.
Yeah, I'm hot and heavy on it. Matter of fact, Bob, let me ask you a question, Bob.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about using two pieces of 1/16 balsa for the bottom block and the mold. So do you mold one of the 1/16 on the mold buck, wrap it up with a adhesive bandage, then come back later on and do the second one?
Well, no, I use one piece of 16th. I don't use anything thicker than 16th for my shelf.
Okay, that makes it easier.
I just use a fairly stiff piece, it's A grain, and then after I mold it, I brush a coat of Z-epoxy finishing resin in there, and hit it with a heat gun, let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then wipe it all out with paper towel, and let it cure. And it's like a piece of iron that weighs nothing. I mean, they won't give you that starved horse look or anything, you know.
Okay.
But you got to put the coat of Z-epoxy in there and let it soak in good after you mold it, and then wipe it out, and then you can, you know, put it onto the fuselage with the formers.
Bob, I wouldn't
It
pay
looks like Mike's joined us. I think Mike wants to give us a Nats report tonight. How you doing? How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing?
Larry,
What's up, Mike?
hey, Mike.
Go ahead and finish what you were saying, John. You were getting it right.
Mike,
Can't hear you.
Mikey, he'll get anything.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, your audio is pretty muffy.
Okay, let me see what I can do here.
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just muffled up.
Well, I don't really know what to do here.
Yeah, we're getting like an echo.
We're getting an echo.
Gotta be here.
All I'm getting is just a soft muffled sound. Voice.
Gotta find it.
Let me try this. Is that any better?
Maybe.
It's a little.
I'm not sure what to do. I thought I had all this sorted out.
Is that a built-in mic on the Chromebook?
It is, yes. I'm on my desktop.
You can't find something.
Are you on the same computer you normally use when you're in the shop?
No, I know my phone and that other Chromebook I was using. Every time I try to get on, it keeps me right off. I don't know what's going on out there with that. That's why I haven't been on, because I just get kicked off the second I join. So I thought I would try from my desktop.
Your muted symbol's up now.
My muted symbol is up. I don't know what's going on here.
Bob, real quickly, what do you put on the inside of your mold?
Inside the shelf?
It's what?
I don't put it on the mold. I mean, I do coat the mold with this epoxy too and sand it. But after I mold the shelves, I then, when they're dry, I brush a coat of epoxy finishing resin into them, and I heat it so it soaks in. And then I wipe all the excess out, let it cure, and then they're like steel, man. They won't, you know, you never get that starved horse look between the formers.
Okay, I missed that.
You keep it really, really light. I've got the airplane on the wall behind me. That's done that way. It's hard to see. It works fine.
Excellent. Yeah, I've got a plane that I'm going to be starting here real soon. I've got molded top and bottom shelf that I'm going to put on it. And I was going to use 332nd.
Yeah, you could use 332nd. It works just as well. But
Okay.
I've been using 1/16 for my fuselage. And you use the 16th inch shelf, they match right up. You don't have to do any adjusting. Everything just fits right perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So you do the same thing with fuselage sides.
Yeah, if you're using 332nd fuselage, then yeah, you can use 332nd for your shell, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the epoxy's the key.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. I used to put a coat of 2/10 carbon matte in them, and then one time I said, "Let's try it without it," and it worked just fine. So.
All right.
save the weight and save the time.
All right, sounds good.
Is this something that I switched my-
So when I got into the competitive free flight here a few years ago, I started with electric, and it works really well, and you have good control. But I had the desire to try globe planes again too.
Yeah.
And now doing this with control line, same thing. The electric works really good, but I have this desire to do the globe. But wow, you really go through a lot of fuel in a control line compared to a free flight that runs 10 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, compared to 4 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 4-second high-speed run doesn't burn a whole lot of fuel.
Yeah.
Is my microphone any better now?
A little
I
bit.
can understand you, Mike.
Enough to understand me?
Yeah,
Okay.
just speak a little distinctly.
You want me to yell?
Dive, dive, dive. Charges away.
Thanks for doing the appearance point judging out there, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome. That was actually one of the things I wanted to touch on tonight
Did a good job.
about our next experience. So we got there Friday late, spent all day just flying combat Saturday because it was so windy. Couldn't fly any stunts. So Sam went into intermediate on Sunday cold. And he was doing okay, but Bob, you were there, or were you? Were you there on by Sunday? It was still pretty windy in the morning, and I gave him a little bit of a rich run, and he got blown out of the overhead eights and crashed the damn airplane. So he was done after that in intermediate. But, then we went on to Tuesday was speed limit. And although Sam didn't place, he did end up best junior. He dusted the other. We actually had 4 juniors in combat this year. Anna Miner, Austin Miner, and Rylan Rich were all there. So there were 4 juniors. Sam made it further than any of the rest of them, so he did end up with the best junior trophy in speed limit. He did mouse racing. He did not qualify for the final, but he did 2 heats. And we had a pretty interesting heat in one of the runs. He came into land. He was hitting Bob Whitney. I mean, just putting the plane right in his hand every time for pits. But one time when he came into land, the other guy had his handle up. The Sam's plane went in between the up and down line of the other guy's line. Not over, not under, right in between. He flipped the line. We got everything untangled, got him back up in the air, and he had the handle upside down. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because I've tried to do this, and I've never been successful, and some of you have probably done it too. But he goes to take off, and the airplane is skipping on the ground like this, because the handle's upside down. He realizes what's happening, shoots it full down, gets the airplane off the ground, and flips the handle over in his hand, and flew the rest of the heat without crashing the airplane. He put the handle over without crashing. It was just like everyone was blown away. Because we could see what was happening. The airplane was going around for about a half a circle. And I'm like, the handle's upside down. He went full down, and then he got in the air, he took the handle over. Never took the thong off. He had the thong on, so it wasn't a DQ or anything like that. But it was pretty cool to watch him be able to pull that off without wrecking the airplane.
So how did it fly on the 3-inch prop?
Actually, that's another bummer of a deal. I gave Bob 4 of my good half-A combat props, and he drilled them all out to use on that motor, and we ended up not using any of them because we had a better prop. So it's nice 4 glass props for nothing, I guess. But he said he's going to make a bushing for me and then send them back to me so that I can still use them. So, but he ended up putting a black tornado on there. It was actually a fast spot. But Mouse was good. He was going junior, so of course he got best junior. And then we get on to Wednesday, half-A day. I was out in 2, and Sam lost his first match. So he went into the losers bracket. But that kid won every match in the losers bracket to make it all the way to the final, fly off the top 4. He was on fire. He was killing people. He got 3 kills while he was in the 3 matches. He went up kill, kill, kill in half-a combat, and made it to the fly-off for 3rd and 4th, and he ended up losing to Mike Evans, and he took 4th place in half-a combat out of 16 entrants. But what I'm super proud of is he was in the losers bracket. And if you're in the losers bracket, as long as you keep winning, you can make it to the final. He fought his way. He threw 6 matches that day to make it to 4th place overall out of 16 fighters.
Wow.
So that was pretty good. And he got the best junior trophy as well, because he bested all the other juniors. Matter of fact, he killed them. He killed Rylan Rich and he killed Anna Meyer in their match.
There's our new national champion there, right there.
There he is.
That's national champion. Yeah.
There he is. And then,
He's right in front of that Romanian guy.
Wait, you won.
Went Thursday, we blocked fast combat day, and I ended up making it to 4th place in that. We almost had it all Michigan and all Detroit 4-way. Detroit guys were top 4, and I got put out by Mike Evans. Detroit guys put me out. So, but it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of carnage. Great fast combat matches. Pete Plunkett from Minnesota ended up winning fast, which is cool. Because he went over and threw stunt on Thursday morning, and then came over and threw fast combat, won it, and went back over and finished his stunt fight. So we had a really good week. Sam threw 5 events, I threw 3, and we tore up a whole bunch of stuff, and we brought a bunch of stuff home too. So it was a good week. We really enjoyed it. Oh, and then in junior senior open, we flew Saturday morning. First flight, I sent him up rich, so I waved him off. I told him not to do anything because it didn't matter. You get 1 throwaway anyway. It's up to 3. The second flight, he burned in a great pattern. He had a good score. He was right in there with the other juniors, maybe even a little above. And I thought he was in contention if he could have pulled off his 3rd flight. 3rd flight goes up, burns in another good one, gets to the clover, and crashes the airplane. So no pattern points, and he just didn't get there. He said that the slip bound up on him. Yeah. I don't know, that's like 2 years in a row he's told me his line slip was bound up on him. I don't know if he's just getting nervous and losing his place or where he's at, or if that's what's really happening. But his second flight was really good. And anyway, it was good enough fun to get a second place.
Was it windy, Mike?
No, it started to come up Saturday a little. You know, it got worse as the morning went on, but the first flights in the morning were pretty decent. But the main thing is, I wish I'd have got the needle right on his first flight, and then maybe he would have had 2 good ones and he could have been in contention. But the second flight was definitely out there, and like I said, it was pretty decent.
One time with Samantha that was at Brodak though. It was windy, and she was doing in the overhead, and the plane got light on the lines, and the lines slack, and it hooked them.
Lead up.
It hooked the clips.
Yeah.
But luckily, she snatched it, and it popped them loose, and she saved it.
Always have them staggered. Never have them so they can get next to each other.
Because that did happen. She went up, lost just a little bit of line tension, and when it come down, the clips hooked.
Okay. Hey, before we forget, let's all congratulate our new advanced national champion, Doran, here.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
We've seen him since he's won, so we've already congratulated him.
Well, I haven't been.
We're done with that now.
Yeah.
It's got so big, it will hardly fit that picture.
Bob, that's good advice, and we're actually going to start doing that, staggering the line clips, because, like I said, this is the second time he said that's happened to me. And it could have been that it got a little light and something bound up on him. Definitely on Sunday and intermediate, it was the wind got him in the overhead. The wind came up, and he just did that first inside way too early. I mean, he presented the airplane broadside to the wind right there. That was a pilot error. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on the line thing, but I'm going to do the staggered line flip so that can't be an excuse anymore.
We were all rooting for him.
Yeah, I was too. You know, I thought he was right in there, man. His second play, the scores were pretty comparable with the other juniors, and I was proud of him for burning in a good one. If any of you guys are on Facebook, Will Davis made a pretty good video of that flight and posted it to YouTube, and it's on my page as well. You can find it there. His actual good flight that he made. And yeah, so it was a good week. We had a lot of fun. And to touch on appearance judging, we can talk about that a little bit. That was my first rodeo there, doing that. And I want to just start by saying, boy, what an eye opener there to be involved in something like that. Randy Smith wrote an appearance judge's guide that was sent to me, and I must have read that thing 20 times the week before the match, and probably twice that morning before appearance judging. I mean, I tried to put it to memory as best I could. And until you handled 50 airplanes in a 2-hour period and like really inspected and looked at 50 airplanes, you don't really get an appreciation for where they end up unless you're looking at every one of them. It's kind of hard to tell from a photograph. You know, there's pictures posted all over the internet of the airplanes. I heard some questions about why wasn't this one better, or why was this one worse. When you start looking at 50 planes, you establish a baseline, and some are above average, some are exceptional, and some are below average, and some are just fair.
Well, did you notice? Did you notice that you had, when you looked out on the field where they were all placed, you had a perfect bell-shaped curve?
Was there? No, I didn't notice that.
It was a perfect bell-shaped curve. It was almost right. It was almost so symmetrical. It was almost unbelievable.
Okay. Well,
It was exactly what it's supposed to be.
I'd like to see a picture of that.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't realize, I think some of the comments about, oh, that's a beautiful airplane. Well, when you flip it over and there's a hole the size of your fist in it and keep the packing tape over it, you're not going to give that guy 17, 18, or 19 points, no matter what the top was. There was probably a half a dozen airplanes that had holes in the bottom that just had packing tape on the bottom. And otherwise, it was a flawless airplane. You know, you just can't go by that standard. You can't give that guy the same amount of points as somebody who's 18 or 19 who doesn't have a big hole, regardless of the rest of the things in the airplane.
You did.
So there was that. And definitely a few stood out more than others, you know, and you just try to establish that baseline, and then off of that, some are better, some are worse. Now, the one thing I was pretty happy about is I had a lot of people come up to me that night or the next day even and say, you know, everything was where it needed to be. The planes that were in the front deserved to be there, and the ones in the middle were, you know, basically saying that we got it right.
Yeah.
And then there was no glaring screw up.
Nope. It was good.
There might have been one or two that could have been a point more or point less, but they were average airplanes anyway. It wasn't going to bring them to 19 or 18. You know, I mean, there was some 14, 15, 16 that maybe could have gone up or down 8 points. But when you really start looking at these planes, and you're looking at the finish and the lines, just the lines in the plane, you know, when you look at a plane in a picture, or even from 5 feet away, you don't know what to pull off in the transition between the colors, you know, or the bleeding. There's a lot of stuff that can be missed just while looking at the photograph or even standing 6 feet away. So, you know, we did our best. And the thing I didn't know is we had to agree on it, me and the other judge. It wasn't him giving the score and me giving the score. We had to be in consensus of what the score was. So we went back and forth with a few of them. You know, I talked for 4 points, and I loved it. But all in all, I think everything went okay. I don't think anybody was really upset. or mad at us or anything. And I had another guy tell me that we did the right thing. You know, we got everything in the right place. So I feel good about that. So I'd be happy to do it again. But again, you don't really know until you've looked at 50 airplanes up close and inspected them. You don't really have an appreciation for how to disseminate what's good and what's not. It was a learning curve for me too. Right.
Peter, what are you doing there?
Huh?
What are you doing there?
Well, I'm just pulling this apart.
Okay.
It's a production. It's a studio camera. A production studio camera.
Hey, Rusty, you think Phil will be in here tonight? Rusty?
Hmm?
Rusty?
Who?
Wake up, Rusty.
Do I think what? Yeah.
You think Phil will be in here tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm with you.
I'm just wondering if you think Phil will be in tonight.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Bob, how are you feeling?
I'm still in a lot of pain, but not
I
as
don't
sharp.
know.
Not as sharp a pain
I
as
hadn't talked to him.
It's better, but it's still not 100%.
Hey guys, can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're hearing us a little bit late, like the other night there, a couple weeks ago.
I think I need to
Yeah. Sometimes it's like we'll be talking and he'll answer something we said a minute or so ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I got a video I want to share of Liam and Sam. We'll try to play it. Hopefully it'll keep up. So this is two ringmasters that Mike Stinson donated to us. He did not want the airplane back, just the engine. And we let Liam Barry, Garrett's son, and Sam fly Ringmaster Combat with them on Friday afternoon. And this is the first time Liam has flown an airplane with anything bigger than an 049. He's never flown anything bigger than a Skyray with an 049. So, am I shared here? I guess not. Well, yeah.
All right, Sam, what?
Hang on.
What the hell? What in Sam Houston?
Okay.
And Liam Barry, Ringmaster Combat.
I don't know how.
5-year-old Liam and 11-year-old Sam with some beater ringmasters. Stay together.
Look at little Liam.
Fly low, Sam, and stay out of his way. There you go, Sam. Fly low so you can come over the top. There you go. Go get him, Liam. Sam, go under it. Go under it.
Crash is coming up.
Yeah! Let's talk that, guys. Good job.
That was their first combat experience. Liam did good. Like I said, that's the first time he ever flew an airplane bigger than 149.
Yeah.
You know, I watched them flying. I watched that a while ago. Actually, I watched a couple of times, and I'm just getting a big giggle and a big laugh out of it every single time I'm watching it. They're just awesome.
Yeah, I don't think Dale Berry is too happy with me. I don't think Grandpa Dale is happy with because all Liam's talking about is combat now. Combat. Barry's like, it's okay, it's okay.
We don't need another Barry to have to contend with. We got one. That's enough.
Yeah, Liam and Sam are fast friends, and they love hanging out at contests. So it's cool that they got to do that together.
Yeah. That's funny.
That is awesome.
I got one more thing to share with you guys. Some handles I found on eBay. Anybody recognize these?
Yeah, those are George Aldrich, aren't they?
Yes, they are. And it even has a box, right? So 3 of them brand new in the box. And I have a couple of these for combat. These are
Yeah, I think they wanted like $100 or more for them.
we wanted $300 for these 3 handles. That was his buy it now price. $300 for them.
Yeah, right.
So I stumbled on them last night, and I sent him a message, and I said, "Hey man, I'm not trying to insult you or lowball you or anything, but I don't think you understand what you have here.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you what you got. It's a combat or control line handle, and they're pretty common. You can get them for $15 or $20 most of the time." And I actually gave one away last month. I did. I sent one to Seattle to John Canopy up there because he needed one. And it had a make offer thing on it. I said, you know, they're worth $15 or $20. That's what you usually pay for them. Not trying to lowball you, not trying to insult you. So I offered him $45 for all 3. And this morning he took my offer, so they're on the way to my house. So he wasn't mad or anything. You know, people don't know what they got. 3 finish handles in a box are worth $300, and fortunately, he was, you know, attuned to understanding that he ain't never going to get 300, and you know, $50 is better than nothing. So
I see where you have those up in Stunt Hangar. I see where you have them up now in classified for $400 for the 3 of them.
The tournament guys still like this, Bob. It's too narrow of a spacing for stunt.
Live stream is
on. He can't hear me. He's standing. He's got his.
I almost got to fly too.
Oh yeah, trying to fly. That's right. That same night, I think I put 5 flights on it, and then the other 2 guys put 5 flights. So that was 10. And then Brian came up. Everything was working great. I'm like, come on, buddy, you got to try it. And there was something wrong with it by then. The reed had gone bad in it. It wasn't wanting to start. It was quitting a lot, which is normal after, you know, 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 flights. So we were getting started, but quitting every time we let go. I couldn't get the reed changed because the motor was hot. So Tryon kind of got posed on it out of his chance to fly it that night. But he was there. He was ready to go. We had his hand on the handle, and I think we had 2 or 3 launches there, and we kept quitting. And we just ran out of time. So next year,
next year, yeah, for sure, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Rusty, are you having a problem with your connection again tonight?
Yeah, it just started a few minutes ago.
Well,
Can
I
you
got
hear me?
stuff to do. I'm going to get off because it's usually when we get so many people on here that you have a problem, and I'll bail, and maybe your connection will come back better or something.
Well, see, if you want,
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Can you hear me okay? My camera's screwing up.
Yeah.
We can hear you, but
Can you hear me?
picture is still.
Yeah.
Picture's frozen.
Yeah, it's been locked up. I can't get it to go. I've restarted it.
So, Steve, if you want to stay, I'm going to leave. See if it works after I stay. After I leave, I mean. It's got to be the drugs he asked me on. You know? see if it works after I say it. Yeah.
I'll give you a call. I want to talk to you, Bob. So I'll give you a call maybe tomorrow.
I only had time martinis, but I have all sober day to Sunday up in. But the drunker I stay here, the longer I get. You know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
I after the Nets were over, I spent some time with Matthew Cullen and Joe Gilbert.
Yeah.
And Matthew put flight after flight after flight on my plane. We're just trimming it over and just changing the trim on it.
Uh-huh.
And then after he put like 10 flights on it or something like that, I get my hands on it and I'm going like, holy smokes! I said, why didn't I have this plane during the contest?
Yeah, you might have won.
And what I really liked the handle that he was using. He was using a handle with a little bit wider spacing, a little bit more throw on it. It was just much less input, and it was much more. I mean, it wasn't over controlling or something like that. It was just very delicate. It was delicate, deliberate, but easy, right?
Well, Bob is big on, and that helps Samantha not to lower your lead outs below your fingers because you
want to keep the up and down line, up line above the top of your index finger and the down line below the bottom of your pinky. But if you get them inside the frame of your hand, it starts to feel vague. It gets very vague. So you want to keep those lines outside your frame of your hand. You know?
That's how it is on my handle right now, but the spacing in the handle was too small.
Too small, yeah.
So I had to go a lot of input, to do.
What handle are you using?
Something I made.
Oh, okay. I'm using the 90 millimeter CAS handle. I really like that.
Yeah. I really like what the one that Matt was using, but I don't know where you can find one of those. It was like a carbon fiber plate that had some eyelets, like 3 eyelets on the top, 3 on the bottom, and a balsa.
That's a Walker handle.
What?
Yeah, the guys out of Florida are making them really nice.
Yeah.
Who's making them?
Yeah.
Smith Brothers.
They make cough drops too, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Better beer than I got.
So how do you, Steve? Do you have a contact for them or something like that?
Yeah. I don't. Is this it?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, Samantha won that when not last year, 2 years ago. Whoever won their class or whatever won a handle from them guys. So if you'd have won 2 years ago instead of this year, they'd have gave you one for free.
Shit, I'm winning. No, every time I'm winning at the wrong time.
Yeah,
seriously. I was at the SIG contest. They had those nice. This was in 96, 97. I was flying intermediate over there. I won the contest. Then what do I get? I got a B-29 distributor cap, right? Really cool stuff, right? Yeah. But I wanted the prize for the second place, which was a nice kit of a SIG Magnum.
Yeah.
I never win what I shoot.
There you go. Take that down. You got a pencil?
Yes. Yeah. Let me write down.
Make your own.
I'll be right back.
You can build airplanes. You can make your own handle.
I think I got everything working again. Can y'all see and hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, good.
Let me know when you have it so I can take it down here.
I recall last time.
All right, I think I got it, except for the address. I mean, it's going to take a while.
Just give him a call.
Yeah.
I recall the last time I saw Bob, it was at Flushing Meadow Park. Gene Schaefer was there, Bill Simmons was there, and Bob was there with his Genesis.
Wow. Bill Simons, yeah. Billy's passed away, you know, Peter.
What's that?
Billy passed away. Billy Simons passed away. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
4 years ago. He was best man at my wedding.
Wow.
Oh.
So
I remember you had your Genesis.
Yeah.
Paul was launching you. You were at the Flushing Meadow Park on the concrete pad that was closest to the Van Wyck Expressway.
Yeah, yeah. We had a lot of
Billy Simmons being there with Bob Lampione and Gene Simmons quite a few times.
Yeah, and later on was Vic Macaluso flew there, and
absolutely
Hank Forbes, and just a whole bunch of good guys. Chipmunk Joe.
And if you can vaguely recall, there was a kid out there with a Super 8 movie camera taking movie pictures. That was me.
Yeah.
I took movies of you and Gene when you were out there flying the Genesis.
I'm Peter. I'm painfully aware of that. That's an inside joke between Peter and I.
And it was those were the days. I really have to.
Are we good now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yes, we are. I remember I was there when Wendy Ertnowski turned around, had his Strega, and he was trying to trim it out, and he was doing loops, and each individual loop got lower and lower and lower until he ripped the landing gear off the airplane.
Oh man, we had so much fun out there. You know, that's when Will DeMauro, who was last year's advanced champion, he's in his 50s now, mid 50s, I guess. He was like 12 years old out there, and I used to have to drive him home. You know.
No, isn't Ortiz also from that area?
Yeah, he passed away too. You know.
He did? Oh, wait, hold on a second.
George.
Then who won the Open at the Nats?
What do you mean?
Orestes?
Yeah, Orestes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But isn't he from the Northeast?
No, he's from Florida.
Oh, Jesus, he's my neighbor.
Yeah, you're thinking of Joe Ortiz. Joe flew out there.
Yeah, my mistake.
No, that's all right. Well, yeah,
Oh,
I went up to Orestes before I left the Nationals, and I've been watching him fly all week long. And I've watched him fly for years. And I took my sunglasses off so he could look right into my eyes, and I said, "Orestes, I got to go." And he was all upset about that. And I said, "But I got to tell you before I leave," I said, "you are the best stunt flyer I have ever seen in my entire life." And as most of you know, the previous guy that held that distinction in my mind was Gene Schaefer.
Ah, yes.
Gene Schaefer was the finest handle man up to the point where I watched Orestes fly. Orestes is in another league, all by himself. But
Yeah.
Schaefer's a close second.
Yeah, Gene did things with airplanes back, like I said, the OS 35 Max we were discussing before, back in the day where nothing was bigger than a 35 size airplane. I remember Gene. And you can turn around and you can tell anybody's, anybody's 45s or anybody's wing over pullouts or their squares, they were razor sharp.
And in any kind of weather, too. He'd fly the same pattern, whether it was 5 miles an hour wind or 30 mile an hour wind.
Absolutely.
It was incredible.
Well, he liked it better when it was 30 miles an hour, because then when the engine quit, he could turn around and fly the airplane. He could turn around and do almost the entire pattern, just whipping the airplane around dead stick.
Peter, I got to tell you a funny story. Most of these guys, I think, have heard this story, and then I'm going to sign off and get out of here. What's Steve? What's up?
I'm saying goodbye.
Oh, okay, man.
Hey, Steve.
Nice
Bye.
day.
See you later, Steve.
Say hello to Sam. Anyway, Schaefer, we were at a Mitchell Field.
Yeah.
In 1968. I just got out of the Army. Or the early 69. It was early 69. I just got out of the Army, and I had only one airplane. I had my Caprice. And we went out to Mitchell Field, and it was Simons and Schaefer and I. We got out there, and nobody even showed up for the contest. It was so windy. So Schaefer got up and decided to wind fly. So he's wind flying for about half an hour, dead still. And I decided I wanted to try it. And Simons, always being the voice of reason, he said, "Don't do it. You're going to crash your airplane." And, of course, he never let me forget about all the pieces blowing off into the oblivion down the runway at Mitchell Field after I crashed the airplane. So Schaefer goes to me, he says, you know how Schaefer was. I mean, Peter will appreciate this. Most of you won't. Schaefer goes to me, he goes, "Bob, I have an airplane back at my apartment. You can use that one." And I said, Gene, I fly the other way. You know, I fly
counterclockwise.
You know? He said, well, what you can do is you hook the up line of the handle to the down line of the airplane and vice versa, and you can fly. You flip it over, you're flying your own airplane.
Upside down, inverted.
And it sounded reasonable, and actually it worked. And I was able to go out and actually, I took third in a couple of contests without appearance points, flying backwards. So at any rate, a few years go by, and I'm out there in 1974 with a brand new Genesis, all polished up and ready.
I remember. I was there. I saw that airplane.
The nuclear banana, we called it, the one with the curved top line. So anyway, Schaefer gets on my case. He says, you know, he said, you never let me fly one of your airplanes. And I said, well, here, fly this one. I figured he was the guy that came up with the idea. He must know what he's doing, you know. So I said, here, fly mine. So he hooked the lines up backwards and took off, and he went right to he flipped it over, went right to the top of the circle, and he's looking down at the center of the circle, and the airplane's above his head doing little tiny loops at the top of the circle. And he said, he calls me, he says, Bobby, get out here. And I go running out, and I said, what's the matter? He says, I can't do this. You can't do it. My brand new airplane. But he did flip it over and landed it safely. But man, I was nervous. Bobby, get out here.
Yeah, those were the day.
Oh, we had a lot of fun out there. Remember Big Jim Greenaway?
Yes, I did. But actually, I never saw him. Actually, I never saw him fly. But he was always out of Flushing Meadow, giving pointers and tips, and basically trying, basically selling his engine working skills.
That's a great guy.
Yes, absolutely.
I've told these guys here this story too. You probably haven't heard it. Then I'll promise I'll sit down for the night. I had, Billy Simons grew up in the same area as Big Jim Greenaway. They both were in Washington Heights, up at George Washington Bridge. And they would both go, when they were kids, they would take their airplanes on the subway and go to Van Cortlandt Park and fly at Van Cortlandt Park. So Billy knew Jim quite well. And but I had never met him at this point. And we got out to Flushing Meadows one day, and we used to go out every week and fly with Bill and with
Sunday mornings.
Yeah, we fly out there every Sunday morning with those guys. So I got out there, and Big Jim Greenaway is there. Now, Big Jim, for those of you who don't know why he's named Big Jim, it's because he was big.
Yeah.
Like 400 pounds big. He was a big guy. So at any rate, he had his first pattern master there, the 40 size pattern master, and it was gorgeous. I mean, a really beautiful airplane. And he had heard about me from Billy, and he didn't call me Bobby, and he didn't call me Hunt. It was one word. He called me Bobby Hunt. Bobby Hunt. So he says, it's a pleasure to meet you, Bobby Hunt. And I said, well, pleasure to meet you, Big Jim. He said, Bobby Hunt, would you like to fly my pattern master? And I said, oh, it'd be an honor, sure. So I get out to the center of the circle, and I'm nervous. I mean, I've just met this guy. It's a brand new airplane. It's gorgeous. And he was kneeling down. It took about a minute to get down and kneel down to start it. And so I called out to him. I said, gee, Big Jim, I'm sure glad that I can run faster than you in case anything goes wrong. Well, he stopped flipping the propeller. Took him about a minute to stand up. Took a cigar out of his mouth. He went,
yep.
Okay, you crash it, I'll turn over your car. Absolute truth. And we became fast friends for many, many years.
Hey, Bob, before you get out of here, I figured you know this probably better than anybody else, what a Casminato Blue Max 20 profile airplane is.
What's that?
Casminato Blue Max 20 profile. What is that?
I didn't know he had one.
Mike Griffin has one for sale on Stunt Hangar right now. And
He's selling out all his stuff, isn't he? He's getting rid of everything.
I'm a little too late because the Aero Tiger 36 has already been bought.
Oh.
But anyway, he's got. I know what a Blue Max is. I know what a Casminato Blue Max, but it's a Blue Max 20 profile trainer is what it's called.
No, I'm not familiar with it, Mike.
Not familiar. Anybody else? No.
No. Well, maybe it was a Blue Max. But...
There's Jamie. He snuck in there. Hi, Jamie.
Yeah, hey, James.
Oh, he's going to get on Stunt Hangar and swoop me on these kids. Watch him.
Well, guys, I got to go take my golden retriever out. She's her eyeballs are floating.
She's ringing the doorbell on the side.
Yeah, she wants to go now. I've been on in a while. Been good to see you guys.
Yes.
Glad to see you, Bob. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man. And Mike, thank you again for doing the judging. You did a great job. And Dorn, congratulations, national champion.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Next year, you're going to have to, you get to chew my butt next year. Big time.
We'll see. Well, listen, I'm sure you're going to get better and better. So, how old are you? How old are you?
I'm going to be in a bowl of hungry, angry sharks.
Now, how old are you?
Me, 50.
Oh, you're
Oh, Jesus, a youngster.
You're a kid.
I'm a kid, yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yep. Trey, it's called a bottom dwelling scum sucker. The sharks are way above you.
Yep.
Oh, that's me. That's what I'm gonna be. The bottom
dwelling scum.
You're gonna do.
That thing.
Well, then have a nice evening, and we'll see you next time.
Stay well. Get better, Bob.
Yeah, stay well. Come back soon.
Come back and see us, yeah.
Bye-bye.
Oh, gee.
So, Tran, I was looking at a photo of your plane there on the judging line,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked like on the outboard leading edge there was a little crease there.
Ooh.
Is that a optical illusion or?
Not at all. That's me hitting a tooling box and fixing the plane afterwards.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah.
you put a different wing on.
No.
Okay.
No, I was just, after I hit a toolbox, I had a little crease over there, and I fixed it after that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to fix. I mean, you just soak it with NCA, sand it off, and put some patches of carbon here and there. Be done deal. Easy to fix.
Okay. Well, because I tried to figure out why you were in the 14 point line, and when I saw that crease, I said, "Well, that would be it." But is that an optical illusion or not? So.
No, it's not. I got those points because the bottom of the plane was repaired to. I had a little whole patch of carbon on top of it. There was, and to be honest, I thought I thought that the parents judging, they're not supposed to flip your plane over and look underneath or something like that. So, but those are the old rules apparently. So I didn't worry too much about it.
Well,
I'm
lucky to get in the 14-point line.
I was happy to get 14 to begin with. I mean, I thought I'm going to get 14. If I got 14, I was just satisfied with it. I think I got more than I deserved anyway. So that's that.
I was looking at a photo of my All-American Eagle, which I thought was a pretty nice looking airplane, but it's monocoat over silk span on the wings, and it's nice because it's never had to be reheated or anything else. But I was looking at the Northwest Regional, and there I am on the second to the last row with that airplane. And it's monocoat. That's the reason why I'm sure. There's probably other reasons, but nonetheless, that's the way I had to build because my wife couldn't take the fumes, the paint fumes.
Yeah. Well, yes, this is normal. I'm not complaining absolutely at all. I mean, I think I got what I deserved. I think I got more than I deserved for appearance points. Because I was looking at other planes in my row, and I thought they had a bit better finish, but I don't know.
Well,
I'm happy with what I got.
The other thing going in with your plane was the fact that you made your mold, you molded your parts. That there was not really much of what you might call prefabricated parts going in there. You made most of your own parts, and so there was a lot of they might have well, they might have understood what you'd gone through to build it.
I wonder what the judges think of that texture, because only your plane's got that carbon fiber texture to it. You don't make, the attempt to cover it up.
Yeah,
And
but
I
that's
like
that's
it
I think
like
what that's
that.
it looks nice. I mean, that's what brings it some sort of um not I'm not saying personality, but I know. Yeah.
It wasn't.
I
It
think carbon
wasn't
looks
the fact.
beautiful.
It wasn't the fact that it wasn't shiny, and it wasn't the fact that it was a carbon fiber plane. The deductions were because of the repairs on the bottom and the glue, which you guys didn't see. None of you guys handled the airplane and saw the bottom of the plane. And Terrain can attest to what I'm talking about. That's
Well,
Yeah.
what
No, absolutely. Yeah, no.
you probably would have got 2 more points if it hadn't been damaged and repaired and we could see it so obviously. That
I'll be dumbstruck to get 16 points for that thing.
yeah.
I mean, it's just like I didn't think they deserved 16 points. But
Yeah,
anyways.
is that what you ended up
Mike,
with 16? Yeah, you probably could have squeaked another one out. You probably would have ended up with 17 if it weren't for the glue and the repairs on the bottom. The fact that it wasn't shiny or that it was carbon fiber had nothing to do with. I mean, we love the construction of it, and I love how you added the color in it this time too. All that stuff was great. It was the repairs
Uh-huh.
and the Dodger CA on the bottom. That's what got this one
Oh,
round.
okay.
So
yeah, and I'm not trying to second guess you guys who were doing the appearance judging, Mike. I
oh,
was
and,
just very curious to what was there, what was happening.
mhm.
It's
Like,
it's hard
like
to judge from a
I said
video and from.
earlier, there was a lot of planes that would have gotten more points had they not had big holes and packing tape covering them on the bottom. I mean, even Joe Gilbert, I forgot what we ended up giving him, but I think he was maybe a 15 or a 16. That would have been a 17 or 18-point airplane if not for the fact that he had a big repair in the body. He had a big hole in it. And I remember it last year at Brodax. He had that big hole in it. And he repaired it, but the repair was just so obvious and just not consistent with the rest of the airplane, you know.
Yeah.
Hinge lines and glue joints, fillets was a big thing too. There were some fillets in there that were just beautiful, that just flowed and were beautiful, and there were others that just weren't as nice. You know, there wasn't a smooth transition between the fuse and the wing, or the fuse and the stab or the rudder. Not everybody gets everything perfect. And that's really what you're striving for there. You're looking for the most well-built, cleanly executed build. You know, and even look at the two front row winners. You couldn't have two different types of paint schemes on airplanes. Paul Walker and Steve Miller. Steve was in a more traditional way, and Paul had that really awesome Dream On airplane. And so it wasn't like we were looking for a particular style of airplane. It couldn't have been two airplanes that were farther apart on how they were decorated, I guess, as you would say. But the finishes on both was just stellar. They stood out above everybody else there.
Yeah. They were beautiful plane.
Yeah.
I mean, the Paul Walker does a tremendous job finishing the plane. I mean, the plane was beautiful. Like nice, flat, shiny, all the good stuff, right? What I really love about that plane is the translucency. I mean, just you see that writing that is on and off, and the faint checker flag that's underneath on the root, and it was just beautiful, right? But the stars on that plane, I think, they don't belong there. That's one thing kind of took me away from it. I was like, oh. Anyways,
Hey, I wanted to share something here if I can. I'm going to try it. primarily, I was hoping for Phil to show up, but basically this is for Peter and for Charles. In digging around, I finally found the files for the Pathfinder LE, and I went ahead and made some PDFs off of it, and found a couple of errors, and I fixed those. They're mainly in the text. There might still be a few more, so if you see them, just let me know. But let me try sharing this with you guys and see. Is anything coming up yet?
Yep.
I'm not getting it, but I always have trouble with screen share.
I got it.
Man,
You
that
got
looks
it?
like an SV11
Yeah.
elevator, or
That's the Pathfinder LE.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Now I got it. Let me make it big.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, it looks.
That's
Y'all can. There we go. Y'all can manually make it big too.
Pathfinder LE, and actually, there's 3 sheets with it. This is sheet 1, which is, and the interesting thing about this wing, if you can look here, you see that there's here in the trailing edge.
Yeah.
It's closed in. It's closed in, and there's on the ribs. You'll see when we get to the wing. There's a little tab that goes right here, and then this is notched, and the ribs are notched, and it goes down, and that is your jig for pulling your wing.
Oh, cool.
And it lines everything up, and you just have this little teeny stiffener up here in the front.
Yep.
And you excuse me. I've molded myself some partial leading edge, and just put it on there, and then the rest of it where it had to be. But I'll show you that when we get over to the wing. It's self-jigging, and it comes out really straight if you got a straight flat table. This back here, the inspection hatch for the elevator has a little tab here on this side, and this is all 64th ply here. Stiffens that up just a little bit underneath the elevator.
Right.
And this piece actually comes out of it. Anyway, that becomes the tongue and the part you put your, like the fuselage is 332nd balsa, and you put a little 332nd balsa on top of this thing, and you'll have a little hole here for a wire to go into, and you got a magnet at the top and a magnet at the bottom. And never have had that thing come on, but it's really easy. You stick a little wire in there, and it pops right open, and you get right to it. Snap it back in place, and it stays there. It's showing a regular tank here. When I do with my RC tank, I lower this floor down, and I right here, I think I've shown it here. We take a little bit off of the bottom and raise it, come around so that the tank can set up a little bit higher, and you see we take a little bit off here, and that still stiffens the nose up plenty. Let me see about getting over to
Before you change pages, John, I have a question.
Okay.
I'm surprised. I have the Mach 2 plans that you sent me. All right, but the fuselage formers, you have some that are actually geodetic kind of on the Mach 2, and you don't have it on the LE. I'm surprised.
Well, that's going to have a lot more freedom on drawing up and designing up the Mach 2. This was Gordon's design, and this is the way he wanted it done. So
okay, all right,
that's why it's that way.
Okay, and another question I have is, what's the size difference of the fuselage between the Mach 2 and the LE? Is it pretty significant?
It's a bit longer, and it's a bit wider. It's designed to hold the pipe in there if you're running a pipe.
Okay.
Okay. You'd of course put a little stinger on there, but yeah, it is a little bit taller, and of course the bubble canopy is a bit different. between the two. So let's see. What were you saying there, Charles?
Thank you. Thank you for explaining that to me. Thank you.
You bet. Oh, one of the things you'll notice is that Gordon does not, and neither do I, does not like having like a 1/2-inch stab and a 3/8 inch elevator.
Right.
And the reason for being, people put that in there to give a little softer around neutral, so that they believe it helps stop hunting, and it might do that. But what it also does, when you're making your intersections, it gives you it's harder to pick the intersection cleanly because you get it soft, and so you usually wind up sticking in your intersection too long. Instead of like on the horizontal lead, instead of like just hitting vertical and then turning.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you hold vertical a little too long, and so you notice we got some down thrust in here. It calls for 1.5 to 2 degrees down thrust, and it's designed in.
I'm just seeing you, John. I'm not seeing the drawing anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just designed in, and there's you can put a little bit of positive incidence in the front of the stab. Okay, let me get this other one. Let's see. Bear with me a minute.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, the wing should be.
John is trying to get that all squared away. If you can see, we had discussions about monocoat on solid surfaces. The landing gear spats there are all monocoated, and there are no wrinkles or anything else.
Wow, that's
those.
Very impressive.
You can probably tell.
Yeah, when you get it in the light just right, we can see it's smooth surface.
All right, we got the wing there now.
You go. Perfect.
Okay, there's the wing. Now, remember I told you about that jigging system. Here's the part that actually forms a what do you call it? It's usually you just have them between the spars. But
shear web.
Shear web. It forms shear web at the trailing edge also.
Yep.
And these are the wing is a 1/2 inch longer on the inboard, and you've got to notice this note down here. It says the wing is shown and built upside down. That's why the lead outs come off the wrong side.
Okay.
Right. That's why the tip weight box is on the wrong side. You see these little on the ribs here, these little tabs.
Right.
They hold it up high enough you can get those spars in there, and this all acts as your jig, and then that little piece goes in that entry there. There's some I think there's 64th ply doublers that go on ribs R1 and R4.
Yes, where the landing gear goes.
Right, that's for the landing gear. And as you build it, the best thing to do is to build this section here. That's where the belt crank goes, and then build the wing around it.
Nice.
And so that's the basic wing. You have any questions, Charles?
No, I'm just admiring it.
Okay. I know Peter is familiar with it.
Yep. As a matter of fact, the trailing edge with the shear webs, that's the only part of the airplane that does not get damaged.
Yeah. Yeah, it will bear up that well.
I do have a question now, John.
All right.
So with those tabs underneath the ribs, when you do it that way, you end up building it upside down. Is that why the plans show it upside down? The wings.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
That way, that way, that way it's set up. You can build right over the plans, and then when you're done with it, you turn it over. You'll have to cut out. So you can actually put this sheeting on here, bring it flush with that, and then leave it sticking up on the side where it's scored here, so you can break it off,
Okay.
do some sanding, and then put the top sheeting on this side, and you shouldn't have a problem with it doing any warping or anything.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, and basically that's exactly how the RSM kit comes. Before Edward Rule sold RSM.
Good. I thought I would probably. I know that Phil wants a set of plans. He wants to scratch build one.
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna anybody that on this particular forum on the bench that wants one that is going
I
to
want
build
one.
it's going to build one, not just
I got things to build.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
The only thing that's a little bit confusing is how the wingtips get built up, especially on the lead out side.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a little bit that is a little bit confusing. Even in the kit, you have to kind of have to improvise.
Yeah, I can see that. Now I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, there's actually in the on the parts there's should be a 64th piece of plywood. Two of them fit on there, and then it's got a 1/4 inch thick piece of balsa that goes on top of it that you can form the tip on. That happens on both sides.
It's kind of a strange type of substructure in here that's a little bit difficult to decipher.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to think about that. Anyway, what I was going to do, I was going to. You guys want one? Email me. And I'll send you the PDF of the plans. You can take that PDF over. I usually take it to a place that does printing for
Kinko's.
No, you can go to Kinko's, but it depends on who's working there. Some of them don't know diddly about what they're working with. I go where not engineers and civil engineers go to get their work printed. It's an engineering print shop, basically. We have one here called Monson Engineering in Salt Lake, and they're very reasonable. They got really good equipment, and the guys that are printing know what they're doing. So I've never had a bad print come out of it. So let me show you the parts of the pattern sheet. The pattern sheet is such that that you can make your own parts, and just about as evenly as you can with a laser cut parts. Here we go. Let's get it. Should be coming up. Let me know when you can see that.
Yep.
I see it.
I do.
Okay. Now these are actually the way the parts are laser cut. These are the files they use to laser cut them as well.
Wow.
And so what you can do is this tells you what the balsa is and how many pieces, it's, you know, the size and how many pieces are needed.
Wow, that's a lot of work there, man.
Well, thank you. It's not as bad as it seems, because what I do is I'll take this sheet and I'll have two of them printed, and I'll cut one up with scissors, and for instance, all of these parts, I'll just cut them, and I'll get that excuse me, that piece of balsa wood in that size, and I'll lay them all out on a table, and I'll just spray over the top and let the 3M 77 just kind of fall on it. I don't want it to stick really hard, but it's just enough to hold it in place. And I'll stick it on right to the piece. I'll get them all stuck on, and then I'll take the piece over to my jigsaw, and I'll go ahead and cut them out. I don't worry about getting close to the line. I get relatively close, but not. And when I'm done, I'll then I've got all these parts, and I'll take it over to I've got a little disc sander, a little Dremel, not Dremel, but it's like a Dremel disc sander. And I'll get it over there, and then I'll use the sander, and I'll clean them up right to the line. And when I get done, I've got parts that are as accurate or as close to as accurate as I can get to laser cut. And it takes me about maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours to cut this out. If I've got all the wood and everything ready. These are everything. Question?
No, I was just going, wow, that's nice.
So anyway, that's the third sheet. And like I say, when you print them up, here's your wingtips. This one is the outboard. This one is the inboard. So you've got the clearance. I think that's right. No, this, I'd have to look at it now. Got me confused.
Yeah, that's the outboard. The one to the left is the outboard. The one to the right is the inboard.
Okay.
No, actually, the one to the left is the inboard. That's where the lead outs go, adjustable lead outs. That's the one. And the one on the one to the right is the outboard wingtip.
Okay, got it. Now, what I do when I do before I take the paper off is I'll transfer the part numbers so that I and I'll also transfer these center lines so I can put the fuselage in the jig. Now the center lines set up for it. Nice. These are for adjusting the spacing. You got the trailing edge adjusts the spacing at the trailing edge, but this adjusts it at the front, at the leading edge of the wing. So that helps get the wing ribs in there nice and straight without cocking them or putting a. Okay, guys.
Yeah, it's very good.
All right.
Very
That
good.
looks great, man.
All right, let me clear on there. Anyway, let me give you. You've got Charles. You got my.
I have yours, yes.
But Peter doesn't, and anybody else.
I don't need it. I have the plans right here.
Are they the same as what you just saw?
Yes, they're exactly the same as what I saw.
Okay.
Plus, the airplane's already built. All I have to do is fix the hangar wrap.
All right.
The one thing I did do is I gave it a little bit of front landing gear treatment.
Oh, nice.
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, for those who want it, my email is. Okay, here we go.
Do you want to put it in the chat line instead of the out in the world?
I don't know how to do that. How do you do that?
There's down at the bottom left where the screen share button is. Well, it's the one all the way to the right. It looks like a little conversation bubble. Click that, and a box will eventually pop up that you can type in.
Oh, okay. Open close chat.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a minute after you click it before it comes up.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, take this here. I don't know if anybody, and anyone out there would want a tip, but if you've ever, what you can see there is you can see that I have this cooling duct that is in that I made in the cowl, and it's right there on the inside is right
Oh,
there, and the outside is right there. What you do is if you can find on eBay, you get your stuff, you just go out and purchase as soon as you can find any kind of telescopic um, CB antenna or any kind of telescopic antenna, TV antenna, whatever, and is big of a diameter at the base that you can find. Turn
right.
around and take it apart. You can use that tubing to sharpen up the edge, and that's what I did. I turn around and take that tubing and I just set it in there. I twist it and twist it and twist it, and it
Oh,
gives
very
you a
cool.
beautiful, nice, very entry like that in whatever size you want. Because of course, the telescopic tubing, you can turn around. This one's too big. This one's small. This one's small. And you use that as a gouge, and it just cuts out a nice round hole, and then you can use it for whatever you want. And actually, what I've done in the past is I've actually turned around when I did a scale model. I turned around and took that same tubing and I left it inside the cutout, and I just made it smooth here. So all of a sudden the tubing was lining this hole. And the nice thing about the telescopic antenna, the telescopic antenna, the tubing that they use, it's very thin wall, so you don't gain a whole lot of weight. But I basically most often just use it as a cutting tool.
That's a
I've
good
got
idea.
a question for you, Peter. Just the diameter of those holes, are they about 1/3 to 1/2 more area than you have for the air coming in?
Oh well, I didn't do anything on the bottom yet. You notice?
Oh, okay. Okay, I was gonna say because otherwise you're gonna overheat.
Yeah, because you can see this opening here is way bigger than anything you're going to get out of here. I just haven't done the bottom of it yet.
Okay. Okay. I wanted to quite. I figured you knew that, but maybe somebody else didn't.
Yes, yes, I obviously did. And of course, the nice thing about these is when the airflow goes across them, it actually causes a low pressure area here, and actually helps pull heat away or whatever the hell is on the inside to the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Charles, did you have a question there?
So I was going to ask you, have you typed in that chat box yet?
I did. I think it should be there. I was going to ask for somebody.
Did you hit enter?
Huh?
Did you hit enter?
Where? Oh no, I didn't.
It helps.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that would do it. I'll try it again.
I didn't see anything. That's why I asked.
Yeah, so telescopic, any kind of telescopic CDB antenna, television antenna, the bigger the base you can find, the better it is. Then you just turn on, get it home, cut the bottom off, pull all the sections out, and you got a whole bunch of nice round, different size cutting tools.
Oh, now I see it, John.
There we go.
All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, Peter, I like that idea because on my Strega fuselage, I have those cutouts that Windanowski had on that V deflector. And I mean, the Strega looks nice, but I was thinking about something more oval or round.
Yep.
And so I've been trying to think how I was going to do that. And
that's basically how I did it. I believe this was like a 3/8 inch. It must have been a CB collapsible walkie-talkie CB antenna that I used, at least for the tubing that I used to make that hole. But yeah, it just gives you and like I said, the nice thing about it is they're brass, they're hardened, and they're quite thin walled. So you can turn around and just put a reamer or some sort of like a round file on the inside of them and make them really sharp, and then you just turn around and you just roll it.
Well, I make the same sort of tools out of K&S tubing. I got assorted K&S tubing, and that's good for what I use to cut holes in ribs and stuff like that.
Yep. The thing is, the only thing is the K&S tubing tends to be a much thicker wall. I just found that the antenna, the telescopic antenna section, are a lot thinner walled and just they're just cut a lot easier. That's all. I mean, you can achieve the same result obviously with the K&N.
Hey, John, did you mean to spell the email like that? I think you might have a T in there that you don't necessarily need.
What does it say?
No, I don't want to repeat it. But I see a T in there after the R.
Oh, that's wrong. I'll do it again. You know what? My fingers, ever since I got electrocuted, I don't type as well as I used to.
Yeah, my fingers don't type very well these days either.
And I got joked.
Just take the T out, Charles.
Say that again, Tom?
I said just take the T out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if he had changed his email. That's why I was asking.
There you go. So there's just a couple of sections of it. They're chrome plated, and they're quite thin wall tubing. But these are just a couple of the sections of the. You get a whole different bunch of sizes just from one antenna.
Wow, that's pretty good, Peter. I like that. Thanks, John. I was double checking.
Well, I've been trying, man, 2 times I've had it messed up. Why did you do that? Every time I hit that, it drops the whole.
Don't worry about it. We got it. We're gonna just use the same stuff from the
we
top.
got it. Yeah, it was the
we're
part
good.
that had the at sign. That's good.
Hey guys, I'm gonna hit the sack.
You are?
Yes.
Try sleeping on it.
Try.
Yeah, I work nowadays. I'm not.
Hey, you work all day, so do I. What's your excuse?
Hey, congratulations, anyways, Brian.
Yeah, thanks. You know, appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, good work.
You get tired of it.
Good night, Chad.
Yeah. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah,
all right, good night, guys.
Good night.
Have a good day. Oh, I didn't lose anything.
Does anybody know? I've always been curious. After you win the advance, do you go into the Walker Cup Championship?
No, that's
in the fly off.
Yeah,
not advanced.
I know it's junior, senior, and open, but I don't know if the advanced guy goes.
No, I don't think so. I think I think advanced didn't even considered really an official.
So you have to be an expert or open.
After everything shut down here last week, or the last time we were here Monday, Jeff and who else was there? It was that guy that makes the calendar right there. Yeah, who made the calendars up for us. We were all in there talking.
Oh, Gary, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about why we don't keep the kids that they show up like a bright flash and then they're gone. Yeah, they get quite good, like Sam and these others. And also why we're not getting as many people getting into competition as one would think, with the numbers of people that are actually flying. And we come to the determination that it might be that beginners is popular, but beginners are popular because they can borrow an airplane, they can buy an airplane, they can build an airplane. It doesn't matter. They just got to have an airplane to fly it. And so that's good. That gets people in the beginner. But when they get out of beginner and they go into intermediate, the problem seems to be that intermediate they have to go up against not pattern points.
Yeah, you have to do the full pattern. That's the big difference.
They have to go the full pattern, but they also have to appearance points.
That's true.
No, that's not true, John.
No, it is true.
You can fly without them. You can fly anything you want, but the guys that have got appearance points have got from 0 to.
We don't go to a local contest anywhere that has appearance points other than Brodax and the NAC.
But out here, they all have it. Okay.
Yeah, that's a West Coast.
It's different around the country, but at the Nats is where the only place I'm talking about. And at the Nats, you can fly a bought airplane in intermediate or advanced, but you do not get the build or the model point.
Well, in advanced that is true, but in beginner and intermediate there are no appearance points at the NAC.
Well, now
there is no BOM in beginner or intermediate at the NAC. Or appearance point.
See, that's
appearance points in advanced, but there is no BOM.
That's different from what I remember when I was in intermediate, but nonetheless, you're probably right because you've been there and I haven't, lately. So that's good. Okay, that's good. So now, the rub seems to hit at advanced. Okay, that's where now you're competing against 0 to 20 extra points if you've got a bought airplane or one you didn't build. But the thought occurred that if we made the appearance points 10 points in advance, and the question was, did you build it? Yes, 10 points. No, no points. So they're not totally out of the running with the points, with appearance points causing as big a problem as when it's 20 points they have to make up.
I think you're trying to solve a problem at a local level out where you are, because as far as I know, none of the contests in the Midwest or in the East Coast that we go to have appearance points in anything except excellence.
But Mike, I'm talking about the Nats. We don't fly.
Okay.
We don't fly expert at the Nats. Okay. We should, I think, but we don't. And I'm going to make that point a little bit here. So at the Nats, you would fly advanced, and we have to back up a minute. 450 points in intermediate, and you're up. If you are consistently flying that or above, that sandbagging in a lower class like that has got to end, because it stops everybody behind them from being able to get up. Same thing with advanced. 510, 515 points, they're up into expert on a basis over a set period of time, an average, I guess I would say. So now, why don't we have expert at the Nats because it takes more people. But expert could be flown at the same time in front of the same judges as the advanced. And then when you go into expert, you would now have the full BOM points if you built it based on the appearance points that would be awarded at the appearance judging. If you want to fly a bought airplane, you go in, you'd have none. That's your choice. But a lot of the lower level people are not flying in open, I don't believe, because there's the same really tough competitors at the top, about 10 of them that show up every time, and they totally dominate the open class. There's been talk about a master's class or something to divide. Why are we using expert and open at the Nats? Your higher pointing guys are going to go at open. They're the only guys that can win. And open is the only guys that can win the walk stuff. But for a guy that's coming up, for him to win an expert time or two, and then take and try his hand at open.
John, I agree with you 100%. And they did, there's a whole thread on Stunt Hangar about them bringing expert back to the Nats. They did it a few years ago. And it only lasted maybe one or two Nats, and then it went away. Yep. Randall Smith was a big proponent of that, of getting experts flying at the Nats. But you touched on two things, okay? I don't want to go fly advanced at the Nats and go up a bunch of experts.
I know. I know.
An expert flyer that drops down into advanced that wins advanced at the Nats. That's typically how it goes. Why do I want to go there and get beat up on by a bunch of expert flyers?
Exactly.
Secondly, I do want to go fly advanced with the Nats and whoop up on an expert flyer. So there's two sides to that coin. One part of me says, don't do it because you're flying in a class that's not really your class. The other part of me wants to go there and spank some guys and try to win it. But I'll be honest, I am not a huge proponent of people being allowed to drop down a class just at the Nationals because they don't want to go fly open.
I agree with you, Mike. I agree with
you. And I never have. And that's why I was very interested in the thread that Randy Smith wrote about bringing expert back to the Nats. You can find it in there. It was last year when I read it. I don't remember the year that it happened, but there was a big stink about it. They did do it, and then it went away again. And I thought that was the worst decision ever. We have skill classes everywhere at every contest we fly in. I'm not allowed to go fly intermediate at the Nats and go beat up on the intermediate guys.
Right.
I just think it's wrong. It's a national competition. We have skill classes for a reason, and I don't agree with it. And I've voiced that opinion on here many times.
Well,
can I interject for a moment?
Yeah.
As far as this is concerned, it's like just about any other sport in history. And I reach back to what Les McDonald told me when he was competing. Les McDonald, of course, had the stiletto. He said to me that when he was competing, he wanted to be the best. And it turned around and completely absorbed his life. The only thing he could think about was competing. The only thing he could think about was winning contests to be the very, very best of anybody that was flying stunt. Now, unfortunately, what we have is a echelon of flyers that can go around and like just what did Bob say? He like burned like so much fuel, 118 flights in a week or something like that. And then they do this for the simple reason that they want to be the guys in open or wherever to turn around and beat everybody else and end up going to the world competition. Now, when you're talking about everybody else that wants to fly competitive stunt, you have these people out there who have the time, the money, and the wherewithal to basically treat it almost as a professional sport. There's got to be some sort of delineation or some sort of break from what those guys do to whatever everybody else does. And that's just my my take on it.
Well, Peter, and what I'm talking about takes care of that particular problem, or at least gets a bit of a handle on it. First off, I like Mike. I don't like having to go. If a guy flies expert class around the country and in his local contest, and then go to the nets and he's flying against me, I fly advanced. You know, I don't think that's right either. I've run into that more times. Well, I should say that I have run into that the time I've gone to the nets. You know, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to overcome. We've talked about in the Stunt News and others. We talked about a master class. It goes, it comes, it goes. And I think what do we have? Why do we fly open, junior, senior at the net? That's the official event. That's because those are the only ones that are in competition for the Walker Cup. The Walker Cup is the national champion. The national champion wins the Walker Cup. But we also have the skill classes being run for beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and they're having their own bit of contest. Well, it's good for the beginners because the beginners are flying against beginners, and they don't have a BOM rule at the nets, so they can buy an airplane and go and fly it. Same thing with the intermediates. The intermediates, I've seen intermediates show up with, you know, top of the line pipe stunt ships to fly intermediate. You know, and they're not going to be intermediate long because they got the equipment, and if they got any training at all, they'll be out of there quick. The idea is that you have to have a clearly delineated average score or average finishing. You know, 5, 4, 3, 5 times whatever first place you move up, or scoring over whatever. You have to require that they move up when they reach that criteria. But when they come into advanced class, as it is right now, they're not flying against advanced. They're coming in as a bottom feeding scum sucker in advanced, and they're having to fly not only against advanced, but the experts that are not flying in open class.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Let's then say, okay, we're going to have experts for that.
You have to keep those people out of that class.
Well, and the thing is what you can do, because you want to see how you fly against them. This is the perfect opportunity. You know, the problem is people say we don't have the people to run another event. Fine, run the advanced and the experts on the same circles, on the same judges at the same time.
It's going to be the same amount of people.
You clean them out at the scoring table. When they're
flyers. It'll be the same amount of flyers.
And now what this does is your superstars, your master classes, are going to be flying open, and anybody else that wants to try his hand in there can enter open. You know, no problem with that. But this now helps bring and train up the people that are coming in, and doesn't give a big hill to climb. Something that's
Peter, I want to touch on something you said about the the open guys that can spend all the time and the money and flying, that they need to be, delineated from everyone else. Well, that's what I'm trying to do in advance. There is already something to delineate everyone from everybody else. It's called the expert class. And the expert should be flying expert, not against advanced flyers. I mean, my sense of fair play is really ruffled when it comes to that one issue.
And Mike, I would say that it could possibly be ruffled even in the lower classes, for the simple reason is if I was going to enter beginner, where I would have to start, I could come in there with a pipe chip, that blows everything else that any other beginner brings to the circle. Whether I can fly it better than they can is a whole nother animal. But it kind of like skews the. I'm just trying to figure out a way to like resolve that type of an issue.
Well, Peter, the thing is that the beginner pattern is a different pattern.
Yeah, I know that.
And I know you know, but one of the criteria for moving up is when you can fly the complete pattern. When you
see that's kind of like a sticking point. I can't fly the complete pattern. I can do everything all the way up through almost, like I said, the cloverleaf. I get screwed up on the cloverleaf. Can't do it for the life of me.
Contest.
You can stay in beginner though. That's fine. If you can't fly the patterns, that's what beginner's for. There's plenty of guys in beginner patterns.
Peter, the thing is
I've been flying long enough that I can go into beginner, and at least I feel confident enough that I can probably kill it. But and that's because I know how to build an airplane. I build very nice airplanes, and I've got the money to spend to get the proper equipment.
But Peter, you go to a contest, you're going to meet people, and you're going to meet people. There's people come to you and say, I can help you with what's going wrong in your pattern.
No, John. Let's not get off on a tangent. We're trying to figure out how we can make it equitable in competition for everyone. I'm not talking about myself.
Well, what I'm saying, I'm not changing it. Anybody, let's reword it. Anybody that's close to being able to fly the full pattern is going to get at a contest, is going to meet people and get help with this pattern. It won't take very long before you'll be coming out of there flying that maneuver you don't know how to fly.
Or the other thing you could do, if you said you can fly everything except the clover, move to intermediate, leave the clover out, do a loop for an attempt, and just take those points. I mean,
you'd get 10 points for the attempt.
If you just
and you would also get your pattern points.
I understand what you're saying, but let's take that to the next level. Forget about beginner, forget about anything else. Now we're talking about advanced and expert. Advanced, you're flying against experts that do not want to go up into advanced. It basically is the same quandary. How do you delineate and separate the two?
Well, it's easy. You do it tabulation. You do the tabulation.
Why do the fly everywhere else?
You do it at the tabulation table. You have your score sheet, and one says that you're an advanced, and the other guy says he's an expert. So the same judges judge them. They mark them up. They go to the tabulating tables. There they say, this is advanced. Okay, it goes in this pile. This is expert. He goes in this pile. Then they tabulate them all up and say, okay, this is the winner or the high score in advanced on this round. This is the high score in expert on this round. No problem.
I agree 100%, Joe. And I've been.
That only works in a perfect.
My thoughts actually were along the same lines as how you treat a sport, and this is any sport. It doesn't have to apply to control line or anything else. You have your Olympic athletes, and unfortunately, the Olympics have gotten kind of corrupted because now they allow professional basketball teams and other teams to actually compete in the Olympics. But let's throw that aside. You have your amateur competitors, and your amateur competitors go all the way up to the gold medal. But there is another class, obviously, of athletes that participate in the same sports, but they are playing it professionally. And I'm not saying that control line, they're experts or master class or whatever is doing it professionally, because they're really not. But to delineate, to delineate the competitions of the people that are basically the amateurs and the people who have the money and everything else, except for the only difference is they do not have sponsorship. to turn around and compete at a whole different level. Basically, the guys like Bob Hunt who burn 118 gallons of fuel, Paul Walker, or any one of those guys, they can turn around and go from amateur and jump into this other set of.
I'm gonna stop you there for a second. Just interject. You're talking about people that can fly a lot, have a lot of money, and can do all that. Garrett Berry did not have a handle in his hand since last August at Canton, Georgia. He put up some practice flights at the Nats with an 8-year-old airplane, and he came in third.
Yeah, he's got natural
talent.
talent.
In a year, 10 flown a year, 8-year-old airplane, qualified, and came in third at the Nats. So I don't think money has a lot to do with it.
No, I'm not necessarily saying money. I'm not saying people who turn around and like treating this like Les McDonald did back in the day as some sort of professional tournament.
Peter, back in the day, let me say this, Mike. Back in the day when Les was doing that, they didn't have the skill classes. You entered in junior, senior, or open. That was all there was. And like Bob Hunt says, you'd come into from junior and senior. Hopefully you did well, but you came in there, you were again the bottom feeding scum sucker until you could convince them in open that you could fly. And you had to practice, you had to work at it. You had to have that desire to make it in open class because there was nowhere else. That's why they came up with the skill classes. The problem we're having in the skill classes we have in the Nats is that open or expert flyers that are flying expert everywhere else, expert flyers are flying in advance.
Absolutely. That's the whole.
That's not right, but the key point is also we have a problem with people on the BOM. A lot of people are flying ARFs or ARCs or other people's airplanes or bought airplanes, and they're not getting the extra 10 or 20 points that someone can get who's built their airplane, and so that it stops them from competing because it's hard to overcome. Say you're flying against somebody that's got 18 appearance points and you got none. It's hard to make up 18 points many times. And so they're dropping out. Those people are dropping out. And because they're dropping out, we are losing people.
Obviously, the answer to that is you turn around and you do not score appearance points or builder of model along with your either you can fly or you can build, one or the other. It's a completely separate system, and you do not attach one score to the other.
Back when I made this suggestion when we started this conversation, we had no builder of the model in beginner, no builder of the model in intermediate, and in advanced. We've had 10 points. If you build it, you got 10 points. If you're flying expert, you got the full 20 points. What you're doing, you're saying to people, if you want to come up in these higher classes, you do have to start building it. Now, that may or may not be the right way to go. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is. It is for the simple reason, like I mentioned before, you get to a certain level, there are people that will turn around and more or less dedicate almost their entire life. And in the regards to Les McDonald, it ruined his marriage. He got divorced because of it. It to the point where you want to impose that rule on a different echelon of competitors, not on the like I would suggest the Olympic, the amateur class.
Well, I'm just throwing it out for discussion. I want you to think about it, see what you think. Think about it between now and the next meeting, and let's talk some more about it on the next meeting then. Because I think there's some some good that can come out of it. Somewhere in there is the right answer. I may not have it. One of you may have it. Somewhere there's the right answer how we can continue to keep this hobby growing and around for years.
Yeah, and this has been the debate and ideas for the longest time. And unfortunately, and with the way I looked at it, and the way I actually described it to my wife, because she always thought it was, oh, geez, you guys just fly around in circles and circles and circles. Well, what fun is that? Until I turned around and told her, think of it as maybe like the Olympics. Then you have figure skating. You have compulsory in figure skating. All the contestants in the Olympics have to turn around and do the compulsory. They have to do X amount of maneuvers and have to get them as perfect as they possibly can in order to move on to the next level of competition. And basically, when you think about it, we're no different than that. The stunt pattern is your compulsory. We just have never gotten past the compulsories to a freestyle or to anything else that would energize, anyone to turn around and say, hey, I'll do the compulsories because I have to, but then I can like let loose on the floor exercise or in figure skating, whatever the heck they do out on the ice, when it's just, okay, I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it, and I'm going to synchronize my music, and you know what I'm talking about.
Freestyle.
Well,
Freestyle,
Peter, the problem with freestyle is back in the 40s, they had freestyle. They would get out there and they had some compulsories, a few of them.
Yeah, that's the pattern. That's the AA pattern. It's your compulsory.
Then the judge would ask them, well, now what else are you going to do? And they'd say, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make my pull out for my reverse wing over 6 inches off the ground, things like that. And I remember Bob Palmer told me once he went to a contest back in the 40s, late 40s, and he said, I'm going to do 12 consecutive loops. That was a big thing back in those days.
Okay.
And he went and did 12 consecutive loops, and he won the contest. The problem with the freestyle is it doesn't work as well for stunt as we're flying it these days.
Yeah, actually, it can, because if you base the freestyle event over the compulsory, so he's going to do 12 inside loops, but he's got to do 12 inside loops the way the AMA pattern says he has to do them, or anything else in that man. That you see, that's where it is. In either figure skating or gymnastics in the Olympics, you can do your freestyle, you can do your floor exercise, and whatever you're going to do. But whatever you're going to do, whatever maneuvers you perform in that freestyle, they have to be, get on the money. You just can't turn around and do a triple somersault and not nail it, and then not nail the landing every single time. You'll get points deducted.
Well, Peter, the thing of it is that the way we have our stunt patterns set up today, the compulsories as we may call it, it brings everybody to try for perfection. Now, what happens? I like to, instead of looking at ice skating and as a competition, I like to look at golf. Golf, you have 18 holes, and some holes are par 3, some are par 4, some are par 2. Okay, depends on the varying amounts of degrees of difficulty at each hole. Kind of like the difference between an inside loop and a triangular loop, or a 4-leg forward. And they're increasing difficulty in some of the maneuvers you do. Now, in all of golf with only 18 holes, nobody has ever, to this day, done a perfect game.
No.
And
Just
they
like
never
no
will.
one's done a perfect pattern.
They never will. And no one has ever done a perfect pattern. But the pattern, the way it's set up is like our par on a golf course. Your par is how well you do this maneuver as prescribed. You get this many points, the more close to perfect you get. For the pattern for stunt as we fly it today, freestyle doesn't fit. But freestyle,
You're misunderstanding me.
No, I'm not.
I'm not saying I'm not saying the contest to get rid of the pattern and the pamphlet.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Competition. I'm just you want to entice more people into the activity, and if by enticing more people into the activity, if that means that we have to be able to at some point, and now it starts out local contests. I'm not talking about the nationals or anything like that, because it's got to start local, because it'll never get the nationals if it doesn't start local. If you don't add something that how would I say, energizes the creative spirit and whoever is flying model airplane, then it just becomes, if you're just talking about doing the same maneuvers over and over and over and over again, at least in my respect, it gets really boring, because I turned around and I was watching the videos from the Nats, and I was watching everybody just do the same compulsories over and over and over again. Give me a break.
It doesn't get boring if you know what they're doing and you know the difficulty of it. It doesn't get boring. Now, if you want to have freestyle, you want to start a local contest, hold a stunt meet that you include an event called freestyle, and where you'll get out and you'll tell the judge, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this. And then you go out and do it, and you'll be judged on how well you did this and this and this and this. But leave the stunt competition as it is, because that's freestyle doesn't fit into it.
Yeah, John. Let's just take oh geez, everybody's going to hate this, because there's a lot of sports that, like, especially in the Winter Olympics, that have become prominent, and a lot of people didn't think they wanted to be. They did not think that would be ever an Olympic event, but it's what's kept the Olympics alive, believe it or not, because otherwise the Olympics would have died a long time ago. You have snowboarders. They turn around, they come out with new tricks every single time. I was watching the Winter Olympics from 2 years ago, and it just amazed me what the snowboarders can do and the tricks that they can pull off. And they name their own tricks after them. The people name their tricks after them, and then everybody's trying to copy their tricks during Olympic competitions. The same thing with freestyle skiers. The same thing applies.
But you see,
the thing is, it keeps the event alive. It brings young kids into the event.
They are working with three-dimensional, or 3-axis and 4-axis, because you got to include time in there.
Yeah,
Where
so is your control line model is working
we've
on
only got 3 pennies. We've only got 2 axes, up and down. You can do loops. You can do inside and outside. You can do right turn or turn up. I'm boring you, aren't I?
No. You're not. You're absolutely not boring me. The thing is the concept I'm trying to get across is that if you turn around and stifle somebody to come in and say, I want to do something new, and that basically is freestyle, and it turns out, oh, why am I bothering? I'll just go someplace else.
Peter, have you seen the stunt pattern published for the old mirror meet?
The thing is that stunt pattern on the AMA has been there for 50 or more years, and it's time to like shake it up. At least that's my opinion.
Peter, the stunt pattern that was published for the mirror meets back in the 40s and early 50s had like
40 or 50 different maneuvers.
Wow.
And you could pick which 20 or 30 of them you were going to do.
Maybe we should go back to that.
Well, the thing it didn't go over well. That's why the mirror meets ended.
Yeah, why? Because some people turned around. Some as I would call them back in the day, the white shoes and the white pants turned around and said, "Oh no, we're not going to do that. We're going to stick with what we know. Like we're experts at that one. Why should we let anything else in?"
That was prior to the white shoes and the white pants.
I know, but that's the same.
But the thing is it didn't have conformity. If you had a guy that was really good at doing a wing over with 8 loops in the wing over as he went over, he would get more points for that than a guy doing a wing over with 1 loop at the top. All right. And so people after a while said, why fly? Now
you have to understand, John, it's like I mentioned with the snowboarders. They are pushing the envelope every single time. Somebody does 2 somersaults, I'm going to do 3. Somebody does 3, I'm going to do a quad. And
I wish I could take my control line airplane and do rolls and do knife edge flight with it, but you can't. It's impossible unless you really screw up bad in the wind.
Yeah.
And so you've got a choice of going up or going down, of doing a loop.
But the thing is, there are people who can turn around and I'll push the envelope and say, okay, I can do up and down, sideways, round and round without a break for the entire flight and no level laps in between and totally dazzle whoever's watching. I mean,
but Peter, then how does the judge get the score on the paper?
How well he does what he does. Like I said, you always use a baseline as the AMA pattern. If he's doing loops in a combination, they've got to be 45, 5 feet. If he's doing 8s in a combination, they've got to match.
You missed what I said. You missed what I said. That's why there's 2 level laps in between there to give them time to figure out what the score is and get it written down. They got to take their eyes off of what the airplane's doing to get it written down.
Unfortunately, that's the drawback of our judges. They are not young enough to be able to keep track of all this going on at the same time.
Well, I couldn't do it when I was younger either. I guess that's why I say if somebody wants to have the kind of a meet we're talking about, a what do you call it,
a freestyle
meet, get a contest date, get out the flyers, and invite people to come to a freestyle meet.
And you know something, John? It would probably be a heck of a lot more fun than just do the pattern.
I used to go around when we were having a contest. This AMA used to have a little flyer, a little full-open flyer that had all of the various maneuvers that we did in this. You could open up with that, and I would find groups of people, and I'd get them together. They're watching. They didn't know what was going on, and I said, "It's kind of boring, isn't it?" Well, yeah, but what are they doing? We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. And I said, well, here, take one of these. Now open it up to the center, and I'm going to tell you what they're doing. Now, first off, he's got to take off, and he's got to take off in a particular way. And I explained how he had to take off and how points were given for that takeoff. And now they understood what was the big thing about takeoff. If you just pop it off the ground, you're not going to get good points on it. If you go around and around 2 or 3 laps before you take it up, you don't get good points on it. But went through every maneuver in the book that was being flown, and I explained to them, and I'd get 10, 15, 20 people. So I noticed afterwards, these people were sitting around, they had that little piece of paper out, and they were watching, and they were figured out what the guy did good, what he didn't get. was a lot more interesting once they knew what was going on and how it related.
And then, John, how about turning around and saying, okay, we're going to do teams. We have 2 flyers up in the same circle at the same time. We're going to be doing the pattern on opposite sides of the field. I mean, there's the possibilities are almost endless in this. I mean, yeah, right now we have combat. Fine, they got planes going around. They want to cut each other's streamer off. Yeah, that's very, very exciting. But how about flying in that manner? I mean, we don't do it.
Combat is one of the most exciting parts of control line right now because of it's easy to see what they're doing. It's easy to see when there's a cut or a kill. It's easy to see when there's a crash. It's easy to see when there's a midair. Next comes like team race and racing and speed, and because you're against the clock. When you get a Formula 40 up there and it's doing 190 miles an hour, that's impressive. You know,
Yeah,
because it's going on. Whoa,
it's not a crowd gatherer.
You know, and it's really moving.
We do not have anything like that in stunt. Like I said, team stunt. Turn around, 2 people, 3 people. Hey, get 4 people doing the pattern or something similar to that in the same circle at the same time.
In all the years I've been in stunt, I have only seen 3 guys maybe 4 that could fly, would fly team wise in stunt.
I did,
and you know, most of the guys flying stunt didn't want to do it.
Yeah, why not? Because they're not the center of attention at that point.
No, because they didn't want to take a very expensive piece of equipment that they built.
You see, that
running into another guy's.
me.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you look at some of these stunt ships. If I was to get paid just $10 an hour for an airplane that I built, you know, I'd be in it probably $3,000 or $4,000 with parts and materials. And you know, if I was to try to sell it, I might get $400, $500 for it.
Yeah, right.
So what that meant is I'd go up, I'd bring a brand new airplane that I worked on, put all that time and money into. I'm going to take it in, I'm going to fly it, and it takes one little miscalculation, and both airplanes are toast, usually. And so you're talking about $6,000 worth of damage. And the guys say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to take my new stunt ship out there in that kind of danger. You know, they won't do it. It's not them being the center of attention. It's, I can't afford it.
Yeah. And that time you never get back.
Right.
Yeah, that's where I kind of like was different because I never cared. Somebody, if I was flying, whatever I was flying at the park or whatever, and somebody said, "Oh, geez, that looks really interesting. Can I turn around and can I give it a try?" I'd give them the handle. I didn't care what I was flying at the time. And it would have been like my Sig Magnum or whatever. I could have spent months building that airplane. I just, you know, here, anything basically to get those people interested. And ultimately, this is like, ultimately, it would turn out that when you get started, you're not going to be able to build or launch an airplane like the one you're flying right now. But here, fly it, get to see what you can possibly be. But it's not like I didn't hand them a trainer. I turned around and handed them the handle of my Sig Magnum or my Vector or whatever I was flying at the time.
You're a lot more forgiving than I am. I often carry a trainer, or not a trainer, but someone like a ringmaster or something along those lines to train people on, to get them out on the handle. I also have a special handle that I make up. I use I've got I got a handle that hooks to the main lines. I got another handle that hooks to this first handle, And I'm flying there. When the guy gets in trouble, I just pull like that. And now I've got control.
Oh no, I absolutely understand that. But typically when I go out, when I was going out and flying, wherever I was flying, that's not what attracted the people to what was going on. They turned around and looked. They saw this. Oh, geez, that's a beautiful airplane. I want to be able to do that.
Well,
And to turn around and say, "Oh, geez, well, here's this little, almost like a stick and rubber job over here that I'm going to get." That was, that was just me.
Peter, I always tell them when you first start in any sport, or let's just say you start driving, you're driving a car. Did you drive Dad's best car?
Hey guys.
It was an Oldsmobile 442. We won't go there.
What's up, you ready to go there, Rusty? What's going on?
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah, I noticed your face planted there for a while.
I did. I just taken a break. I hadn't actually gone to sleep, but I'm going to pretty soon. So I appreciate it. Y'all collect your thoughts and we can maybe carry this on at a later time.
We certainly will.
Yeah, sorry I came in late, Rusty. I just got out of the shop.
Yeah,
Rusty, we're just
that's
trying
all right.
to figure out. We're just trying to figure out how we can get more people involved in
I
control.
got it. I get it. Yeah.
And it's
I agree with some of what y'all are saying too.
Control line.
But I didn't see any point in jumping into the conversation. Y'all had it nailed down pretty good. But everybody, thanks for coming, and y'all have a great weekend. And we'll see you. We'll see you Monday night. Okay.
Okay, you have a great weekend, brother.
All right.
All right, man. Take care. Good night. Sorry, Jeff.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
I'll stick around, Jeff.
See you Monday.
I'll stick around.
It's California time.
Yeah. It's Carolina time here, 12:49. So we'll see y'all later. And thanks for all you tubers out there too.
Oh, yeah, it's early.
Everybody have a good weekend. It's late.
All right,
Good night.
I'm in Florida.
Rusty, happy Friday. Have a good weekend.
It's early, 12:49.